Chapter 840. Seven Brilliance Fist? Hearing this, Jin Zhou and Zhang Feng were both shocked. They did not know what martial art it was, but from what Li Fan said, it seemed to be the upgraded version of the Seven Heroes Fist. The Seven Heroes Fist was already in the top 10 of the pugilistic world's divine martial art. Wouldn't the upgraded version of the Seven Brilliance Fist be even more powerful? Li Fan still hit a trump card and did not reveal his Qilin Palm and True Dragon Hand. True Dragon Palm was what Li Fan called his new right hand. Because of his powerful control of True Qi, Li Fan made up this name. Between the three of them was Jin Daoflag, but no one made the first move. They were all waiting for the other to reveal an opening. In a fight between experts, a single mistake could become a fatal flaw. Let me start first. Jin Zhou seemed to be a little impatient. His blood was boiling, and he only wanted to fight. Jin Zhou's body exploded with strong True Qi. His arms became slightly thicker, and he punched at Li Fan and Zhang Feng. The fist aura of the Jin family's fist technique was extremely overbearing. Even Zhang Feng did not dare to face it head-on. His feet seemed to be stepping on a lotus. His whole body moved a few steps to the side, barely dodging the fist aura. The place where he had just been standing had a huge crater. Li Fan did not dodge. He wanted to see how powerful Jin Zhou's fist aura was. Li Fan circulated the True Qi in his body. The god of war condensed into a golden armor and covered Li Fan's body. His arms shook in front of him, and he used his body to block the fist aura. Bang! Li Fan's body shook violently. He felt as if a train had hit him. He rooted his feet, and the True Qi in his body surged, continuously dispelling Jin Zhou's fist aura. This skill of dispelling True Qi was a Tai Chi skill that Li Fan learned from Yin Kai. He could use his legs to divert the force from his legs to his feet, and then through his feet to the ground. Li Fan suffered part of the fist aura, and his internal organs were affected. The other part was diverted to the tower under his feet. Bang! 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 The tower kept emitting muffled sounds, as if it had received a strong impact. After a series of punches, Li Fan was still standing there, but his golden armor kept emitting black mist. Beautiful! Jin Zhou couldn't help but be excited. There was actually someone who could face his fist head-on. This was too exciting. Come. Take 3 more punches from me. As Jin Zhou spoke, his fist trembled, and he was about to throw out another 3 punches. Li Fan almost cursed it out loud. Fuck you, you still want to hit me 3 more times. However, Li Fan's temper flared up. Isn't it just 3 punches? I'm not afraid of anyone. Li Fan directly entered the abnormality bone swap state. His body suddenly expanded, and his shirt was directly torn apart. A picture of an overlord subduing a tiger appeared on Li Fan's bare back, looking majestic. Take my fist. Jin Zhou threw 3 consecutive punches at Li Fan. But this time, Li Fan did not use his body to take it head-on. He raised his right hand and poured his True Qi into his palm. This True Qi condensed into the shape of an arm armor, covering Li Fan's right arm, but it was not very clear. Facing Jin Zhou's punches, Li Fan's True Dragon Hand slapped out. Dang! A sound of an explosion rang out in the air, and Li Fan's palm emitted black smoke. Dang! Another 2 sounds rang out. Li Fan's palm paused, and his body also slid back 2 meters, landing on the edge of the tower. Li Fan stood there, with some black smoke on his body. Obviously, he had received quite a bit of impact. Great, this is great! Jin Zhou was so excited that he was about to explode. To be able to block 3 of his punches in a row, this is interesting. Zhang Feng suddenly appeared behind Li Fan, and 2 fingers struck at Li Fan's temples. This kind of opportunity, he absolutely will not miss it. But Li Fan did not even turn his head. A great war god popped out from his back and slapped Zhang Feng's body. Zhang Feng raised his sword and placed it in front of him, blocking the great war god's slap. Bam! Zhang Feng's body was still sent flying. He immediately stabbed his sword into the top of the tower, stabilizing his body. This move was like swatting a fly. Li Fan used it every time. Jin Zhou once again walked in front of Li Fan, and with an uppercut, He aimed at Li Fan's chin. Li Fan stretched out both of his hands, trying to block Jin Zhou's punch. Bam! Another heavy sound rang out, and Li Fan's hands were forcibly broken. Jin Zhou's fist landed on Li Fan's chin. Li Fan's body was sent flying, and Jin Zhou had already jumped into the air, preparing to give Li Fan another heavy punch. Li Fan was unable to borrow strength in the air, but he was very calm. He immediately stretched out his left hand, and with a spirit snake entanglement, he coiled around Jin Zhou's fist and locked it on his arm. What? Jin Zhou was a little surprised. What kind of martial art is this? Like a spirit snake? Is it the Seven Heroes Fist? Dragon-crushing hand. Li Fan's four fingers were placed on Jin Zhou's chest, and with a 1-inch punch, the four fingers hit Jin Zhou's chest at the same time. Puff! Jin Zhou spat out a mouthful of bitter water, and his entire body was sent flying by Li Fan's move. Although Jin Zhou's body was sturdy, Li Fan's move directly used true qi to enter his internal organs, and the damage was quite strong. He flew out, and with a turn in the air, he unloaded Li Fan's strength and landed on top of the water tower. Zhang Feng once again took advantage, and a sword qi swept towards Jin Zhou. Break! Jin Zhou turned around and punched, using the fist aura to shatter Jiang Feng's sword qi. Brother Jiang, although your sword qi is fast, it is still lacking. Jin Zhou turned his head and said to Jiang Feng, "Don't hide anymore. Quickly use your full strength. Since I was scolded by Big Brother, then I can't continue to hide anymore." Jiang Feng nodded and gave Shui Wuxin a look. Shui Wuxin nodded, pulled out his own sword, and threw it to Jiang Feng. Jiang Feng held the two swords in his hands and waved both of his hands, crazily releasing sword qi towards Jin Zhou. That's right. In the Jianghu, very few people could use dual swords. It was very difficult for a normal person to do two things at once. Moreover, the attacks of both hands had a pattern, and if they were to be used at the same time, it would be very easy to be countered. To master dual swords, one must be like in the novels, and master the so-called left and right mutual combat. When he could separate his hands to do different things, he would be able to master the dual sword style. However, this method was too time-consuming, so it was better to focus on one hand, and it would be faster to practice the sword this way. But the current Jiang Feng could easily use dual swords, and the sword qi on the two swords swept and slashed, without any pattern to speak of. Jin Zhou used the fist aura to block, but he was unable to deal with such dense sword qi, and was actually showing signs of losing. Chapter 841. Facing such a large amount of sword qi, Jin Zhou was at a disadvantage. Jiang Feng's attack was like a storm. The sword qi covered the sky and the earth, crazily attacking Jin Zhou. Although Jin Zhou was struggling, his expression was calm, giving off the demeanor of an expert. Let him be strong. The cool breeze caresses the hill. Let him be strong. The bright moon illuminates the great river. However, Jiang Feng's sword qi was getting faster and faster, becoming more and more frenzied. Soon, Jin Zhou was unable to block it, and a few wounds appeared on his body. However, Jin Zhou was not afraid at all. Instead, he laughed loudly. Ah, good. Blue and white true qi suddenly appeared on Jin Zhou's body, condensing into a coat. Condensing qi. Li Fan was surprised. He did not expect Brother Jin to also know this move. This move was the special skill of the 12 sages of the Dragon Hall. Now that Jin Zhou used it, it did not seem out of place. Condensing qi? Clearly, Jiang Feng also knew this move. His eyes began to slowly emit a red glow, as if it was a sign of heart and demon unification. Jin Zhou blocked the sword qi as he walked toward Jiang Feng. Soon, the two of them clashed. Jiang Feng's two swords were wrapped in sword qi, clashing with Jin Zhou's fists. You two, don't forget me. As Li Fan spoke, he leaped up, jumped over, and directly joined the battle. Li Fan used his palm technique, and the three of them began fighting. A cyclone kept spinning around the three of them, forming a huge vortex of true qi. The others could not get close, and the three of them seem to have become the center of hell. These two youngsters are actually able to compete with young master. The advisor stood below, watching the scene on the tall tower, and could not help but feel surprised. There is always someone better. On the other hand, old master Jin Tong was extremely calm. Only opponents of the same level can make the golden boat stronger. The battle between the three of them became more and more intense, and they were almost evenly matched. Jin Zhou's blood seemed to be boiling. He laughed loudly, then raised his right fist. "My two brothers, you must survive." A huge true chi suddenly compressed towards Jin Zhou's fist. Even Li Fan and Jiang Feng felt a terrifying pressure. Both of them raised their swords to protect themselves. The other raised his arm, and golden armor covered his body. Both of them were in a defensive stance. World-conquering fist. Jin Zhou, with an inexhaustible domineering aura, punched heavily at his feet. The fist aura spread out rapidly, and Li Fan and Jiang Feng were sent flying at the same time. Jin Zhou's punch actually destroyed the 30-meter-tall tower. The tower began to collapse bit by bit, and both Li Fan and Jiang Feng suffered some injuries. Jiang Feng was protected by Shui Wuxin as the two of them floated down to the ground. Meanwhile, Li Fan continued to step on the falling gravel and slowly approached the ground. Chen Junhua didn't have any problems either. He used his Qinggong to descend. Jin Zhou's body continued to fall towards the ground. His entire body was falling, and his fist was still glowing with a golden light. Jin Zhou looked as though he was about to throw another punch. Li Fan and Jiang Feng, who had just landed on the ground, saw what was happening. Both of them grew anxious. Jin Zhou's fist was too overbearing. If they took another punch, the two of them might not be able to withstand it. Come on, however, Li Fan's blood quickly boiled. Jin Zhou's strength was very strong, and his fist technique was overbearing. It was suitable for him to fight with him. He quickly gathered his true chi and gathered it on his left hand. Li Fan's right hand was affected by the aberration bone changing technique. It began to mutate, becoming like a beast's claw. Qilin Palm was ready to be unleashed. The true chi in Li Fan's body boiled as it rushed out from the pores of his body and spewed outwards like a steam engine. Li Fan's heart was also like a high-speed motor, beating very quickly, accelerating the flow of blood and true chi in his body. Jiang Feng also couldn't bear it anymore. If he retreated now, then he would no longer have any status in the pugilistic world. He raised both of his swords and roared. The black and red innate chi immediately wrapped around his body, causing him to become eerie and sinister. True unparalleled swift slash. Jiang Feng swung both of his swords, bringing forth a black and red whirlwind. This whirlwind moved towards Li Fan and Jin Zhou. Li Fan and Jin Zhou had no time to care about the whirlwind. Their fists and palms collided. Overlord Fist. Qilin Palm. The two's strength collided. Jin Zhou's domineering aura collided with Li Fan's ice and fire power. They were evenly matched. The surrounding ground also collapsed, and the power was still spreading outwards. At the same time, Jiang Feng's black and red sword chi whirlwind also arrived. Li Fan separated his right hand, which was wrapped in light gold armor, and blocked the sword chi whirlwind. This way, it was equivalent to Li Fan fighting against two people's moves at the same time. However, Li Fan secretly circulated the Tai Chi technique that he learned from Yen Kai. He extracted the two people's strength, and then exchanged it to attack the opponent. This way, Li Fan only needed to use a little bit of strength to deal with two people's attacks at the same time. This kind of trick was unexpectedly not discovered for a while. Jin Zhou and Jiang Feng felt that their strength was like a clay ox entering the sea. And then from Li Fan's body came a steady stream of powerful strength to fight against them. This Li Fan's internal strength was actually unfathomable. One person fighting against two experts, Jin Zhou and Jiang Feng, were a little unconvinced. Condensing Qi. Second level. Jin Zhou roared, and the blue and white radiance on his body slowly turned golden. His hair stood on end, just like a super scion, and his strength doubled again. Jiang Feng's eyes turned blood red, and his true qi turned scarlet. The whirlwind became even stronger and attacked Li Fan's right palm. However, they quickly discovered that the resistance from Li Fan's body was also stronger. It was as if no matter how high the two of them increased their strength, Li Fan would be able to withstand it. This Li Fan, how strong is he? Wrong. Jiang Feng suddenly understood. This is Tai Chi technique. Being reminded by Jiang Feng, Jin Zhou also came to a realization. Good kid, good move. Jin Zhou laughed angrily. I was wondering how you could block my second attack. Second level of condensing qi is indeed frighteningly strong. And Jiang Feng's heart and demon unity is also extremely strong. Li Fan pushed with both hands, sending the two flying, and at the same time he took 2 steps back. Two big brothers, then I will use my true ability, Li Fan said, and raised his true qi and poured it into the top of his head. Great war god appeared behind him, golden in color, wearing a dazzling golden armor. This great war god slowly shrunk and condensed on Li Fan's body. Divine Dragon General, Li Fan activated his strongest state, and his eyes emitted a golden radiance. Chapter 842. Jiang Feng and Jin Zhou were not the only ones who were shocked by Li Fan's powerful aura. Even Elder Jin Tong was shocked. This young man was actually so powerful. He had just turned 20 years old, but his qi was already stronger than his son's. Jin Zhou had a fortuitous encounter that gave him the strength he had today. What kind of fortuitous encounter did this young man have? Jin Tong looked at Li Fan, who was covered in golden qi, with a deep look in his eyes. This year's Golden Dart flag would not easily fall into his family's hands. Third brother, your aura alone is amazing. Jin Zhou looked at Li Fan, who was standing there like a god. What kind of kung fu are you practicing? Fist of 7 heroes. Li Fan said, when I reach the 7th level, I can activate this state. I have to say, your Fist of 7 heroes is really powerful. Jiang Feng could not help but praise. If there's a next life, maybe we can really be brothers. Jiang Feng admired Li Fan from the bottom of his heart. Although this young man had borrowed some of the power of the Murong family, he had relied more on his own strength to get to this stage. His self-created martial art actually managed to enter the top 10 of the Divine Skill Manual one day. This was already a very impressive thing. His only family passed down the 12 acupoints hand, but it did not advance to the level of Fist of 7 heroes. Now, he was relying on the Murong family's swordsmanship. It was too embarrassing. But no matter what method he used, he had to climb to the top and become a real dragon among men. The Alliance Master of the Martial Arts Tournament this time would definitely be him. If you two brothers want to learn, you can join the 7 heroes. Oh, third brother, are you preparing to open a martial arts school? Jin Zhou asked immediately. Yes, that's the idea. Li Fan had always wanted to pass down the Fist of 7 heroes. Although he had a disciple, Lu Xiaohu, it was far from enough to promote his martial arts. Spreading branches and leaves, not bad. If third younger brother needs help, as his big brother, I will definitely support him. However, I'm your big brother. How can I be your disciple? Chen Junhua and the others were about to vomit blood. The true qi on the bodies of these 3 people had already risen to the extreme. It was as if they could ignite a nuclear bomb at any time, but in the end, they were still chatting. I only have one thought. Once I take over the position of the world's #1 martial arts alliance master, I will open a martial arts dojo. When Li Fan said this, he was very confident. Third brother, let's take down the Golden Dart flag first. As Jiang Feng spoke, he carried his 2 swords and appeared behind Li Fan in a strange lotus pattern. Li Fan immediately turned around, but Jiang Feng was like a king of Qin circling around a pillar. He circled behind Li Fan and swung his 2 swords towards Li Fan's back. Jiang Feng was very confident in his lotus pattern. This was a pattern that he had comprehended in front of a lotus pond after thinking about it for a long time. However, Li Fan leaned back and his elbow heavily hit Jiang Feng's chest. Iron Mountain lean? Jiang Feng felt a pain in his abdomen. His two swords that were about to attack also stopped. However, this was only Li Fan's first attack. His strongest combat power was his continuous attacks. Subdue the bear! Li Fan leaned back and his entire body leaned forward. Then, he hugged Jiang Feng's waist with both hands. Jiang Feng didn't have time to react. Li Fan had already hugged his waist, lifted him up, and smashed him to the ground in front of him. Dong! Jiang Feng was smashed to the ground. Jin Zhou had already descended from the sky and punched at Li Fan. His fist aura was compressed to the extreme and smashed down like a nuclear bomb. However, when Li Fan raised his head, before Jiang Feng's fist landed, Li Fan's palm had already landed on his shoulder. Fight the tiger. This was Fight the Tiger. The stronger the opponent, the more damage he would suffer. Jin Zhou's strength was obviously not light. His body was sent flying and smashed into a warehouse behind him, raising a large cloud of dust. Li Fan walked over and pulled out the golden dart flag from the ground. He held it in his hand. I'm sorry, we'll take this golden dart flag first. According to the rules, Li Fan had to hold the dart flag for more than 3 minutes to be considered qualified. Jiang Feng jumped up for the ground again. Jin Zhou shook off the gravel on his body and stood up, shaking off the dust on his body. Third brother, amazing! Jin Zhou's eyes lit up. What kind of martial arts did you use just now? 7 Brilliance Fist. Li Fan stretched out his hand and assumed the starting stance of 7 Brilliance Fist. Interesting. I want to see it. Jin Zhou was very happy to see this fist technique. He had the urge to learn it. He was also a martial arts prodigy. Usually, he could learn a little bit of the martial arts he saw. However, he couldn't see through Li Fan's 7 Brilliance Fist. Every move of the 7 Brilliance Fist looked very simple. However, it contained thousands of variations, making it hard to guess. Second brother, hand over the flag. Before Jiang Feng could finish his words, he appeared behind Li Fan. Jin Zhou coincidentally coordinated with Jiang Feng. He appeared above Li Fan's head and smashed his fist down on Li Fan. The two experts attacked Li Fan together. It was somewhat troublesome. However, Li Fan released his true qi. He didn't even need to open his eyes to feel the wind blowing around him. The two attacked together. Jiang Feng's 2 swords and Jin Zhou's fist landed on Li Fan's body. Li Fan's body was directly torn to pieces. However, it was only an afterimage. Monkey play. This movement technique teased the two experts. At the same time, a huge war god appeared behind the two of them. His 2 palms slapped on the two experts' bodies. War god. This was the condensation of Li Fan's toad transformation. The two of them hit the ground at the same time. However, Jiang Feng's body bounced on the ground. His whole body was upside down. His 2 swords slashed towards Li Fan's ankles. However, Li Fan threw out his leg and directly kicked Jiang Feng's stomach. Chasing deer. Li Fan almost displayed his 7 Brilliance Fist. Jiang Feng was heavily kicked out. He crashed into a towering ancient tree in the courtyard and flew out. Jin Zhou stood up again. His fist went straight towards Li Fan's cheek. Li Fan's right hand suddenly wrapped around Jin Zhou's arm. Once again, he locked the attack. Li Fan moved forward. He dragged Jin Zhou's body and staggered forward. At the same time, Li Fan's finger hit Jin Zhou's throat. It almost broke through Jin Zhou's true qi and tore his throat apart. Capturing Snake. This defensive counterattack caused Jin Zhou to cover his throat and take 2 steps back. Li Fan's 7 Brilliance Fist was displayed incisively and vividly. Jin Zhou and Jiang Feng were in pain. Chapter 843. The two of them fought for a long time without any results. Instead, they were being suppressed by Li Fan. Li Fan's 7 Brilliance Fist is too powerful. Jin Zhou and Jiang Feng are unable to take down Li Fan in a short period of time. They can't help but feel anxious. We have to work together, Jiang Feng said to Jin Zhou. Time is almost up. We cannot let Li Fan get the golden dart flag. All right. Although Jin Zhou doesn't like to work together with others, now is not the time to be polite. The two of them quickly closed in on Li Fan. Both of them revolved their strongest true chi, preparing to unleash a wave of attacks. But Li Fan is still standing there. Looking at the two experts pouncing towards him, he doesn't show any fear. He flings the extraordinary sword into the air and floats it above his head. God slaying. Li Fan stretches out 2 fingers of his right hand and presses down on Jinzhou. A black lightning bolt descends from the sword and strikes down on Jinzhou's head. Not good. Seeing the power contained in the lightning bolt, Jinzhou hurriedly stops his footsteps. At the same time, he raises his fist, condenses his true chi, and punches towards the top of his head. Boom! Jinzhou's fist was actually torn apart. If not for him rolling on the ground and dodging the black lightning bolt, his entire body would have been turned into charcoal. Zhang Feng has already taken the opportunity to arrive in front of Li Fan. The 2 swords in his hands emitted a red radiance as they slashed towards Li Fan. Li Fan presses down with 2 fingers again. Second strike. The second black lightning bolt descends. Zhang Feng hurriedly uses lotus steps, trying to dodge this lightning bolt. But the speed of the lightning bolt is very fast. In a blink of an eye, it has already reached Zhang Feng's forehead. Zhang Feng doesn't dare to delay. He raises both swords and blocks above his head. Bang! The 2 swords are directly cut in half, but it also dissipates a large portion of the lightning bolt's power. The remaining lightning bolt landed on Zhang Feng's body, causing him to lie on the ground with black smoke rising from his body. Third strike. Li Fan pressed both of his hands down at the same time. The treasured sword actually split into 2 thunderbolts and struck down together. Zhang Feng and Jinzhou hurriedly endured the pain and attacked at the same time, blocking the 3rd thunderbolt. Fortunately, after the 3rd bolt of lightning was separated, its power was much lighter. 2 lightning bolts landed on Jinzhou and Zhang Feng, causing them to spit out a mouthful of blood at the same time. Li Fan was still standing there, holding the golden flag in his left hand. Clang! With the sound of the gong, the time was up. Everyone stop! Old Master Jin Tong stood up and shouted. This voice was like a clap of thunder from a clear sky, exploding in everyone's ears. Li Fan's body shook violently. He felt a faint ringing in his ears, and his eardrums started to hurt. His vision darkened slightly, and the innate chi condensed in his body also dispersed involuntarily. Incredible, Li Fan couldn't help but glance at old Master Jin Tong. This old man was at least a grandmaster. No wonder he had been a gold-ranked escort for so many years. He was the real deal. Everyone please get up. Jin Tong waved his hand, and Zhang Feng and Jinzhou were lifted from the ground. The golden boy's strength was evident. Old Master Jin Tong's inner force is too strong. He's still as strong as before. Some of the onlookers exclaimed in admiration. Jinzhou took 2 steps forward and stood in front of Li Fan. This year's gold-ranked escort is Li Fan from Phenomenal Escort Agency. He announced Li Fan's name, but none of the people below praised him. Li Fan was the enemy of Murong's family. No one in the Jianghu would dare to let their family escort an escort. Li Fan was like a god of plague. Everyone wanted to stay as far away from him as possible. But today, this man had become a gold-ranked escort. Oh my God! How ironic! A gold-ranked escort that no one dared to use? Li Fan, do you have anything to say? Jin Tong looked at Li Fan politely and asked. Yes, I have something to say. Li Fan didn't stand on ceremony. All right, go ahead, gold-ranked escort. Jin Tong nodded and patted Li Fan's shoulder. Everyone in the Jianghu, I'm really sorry. I, Li Fan, this unwelcome guy, has become a gold-ranked escort. Li Fan's voice was wrapped in true chi as he said loudly. Everyone should have seen the strength of Phenomenal Escort Agency. I can tell you today, I, Li Fan, am not afraid of Murong's villa, who will be escorting an escort in my Phenomenal Escort Agency. I, Li Fan, will not only guarantee the safety of the escort, but also guarantee that Murong's villa will not dare to provoke you. What makes you say that? A martial fighter could not help but ask. Why? Because of this. Li Fan raised the golden escort flag in his left hand high up. This golden escort flag represents everything. Everyone looked at the golden escort flag and was speechless. This golden escort flag indeed represented everything. Li Fan's status was much nobler now. At least for this year, Li Fan was the boss of the escorts. He could even be said to be the emperor of the escorts. Li Fan, from today onwards, all the escorts in the world will follow your lead. Old Master Jean also said loudly, with the golden escort flag, you can command all the escorts in the world. However, the golden escort flag will be changed every year. Next year, the Golden Escort Convention will be held by your phenomenal escort agency. Yes, this is exactly what I want. Li Fan smiled. From today onwards, every escort agency will have to provide an escort order to our phenomenal escort agency every month. We will choose which order to accept. Otherwise, we will cancel their escort flag. Li Fan's words stunned all the escorts. Was Li Fan crazy? But Jean Zhou laughed heartily. This third younger brother of his really played a ruthless move. He was a gold-ranked escort and had the absolute right to speak. If he canceled his escort agency, he would not be able to accept any escorts for at least a year. This was a ruthless order. The escorts all looked at Li Fan with some resentment. Even old Master Jean Tong was stunned. He had been a gold-ranked escort for so many years, but he did not know that a gold-ranked escort had such authority. Even Zhang Feng was convinced. Regardless of what would happen in a year, Phenomenal Escort Agency would be able to dominate the entire pugilistic world within a year. This is the gold-ranked escort's order. Anyone who disobeys can challenge me. I'm not convinced. A burly man jumped out. I'm the head of Justice Escort Agency. Today I will kill you, you devil. Justice Escort Agency was one of the 8 smaller escort agencies. The head of the escort agency was a dragon among men. The burly man was enraged. He leaped forward and slammed his palm down on Li Fan's head. Li Fan did not move an inch. The god of war appeared behind him and used his dragon-crushing hand to pierce through the burly man's body. Blood gushed out from his back. The god of war raised his right hand, which was still impaled by the burly man's corpse. This friend has failed his challenge. Is there anyone else? Chapter 844. Li Fan's direct hegemony could even be said to be a tyrannical rule. However, his strength and identity were right there. Just now, the head of the Justice Escort Agency had already made an example. Now, who else would dare to challenge Li Fan? Although those powers in the underworld did not dare to do business with Li Fan, but now that Li Fan had asked other escort agencies to do the business for him, it was equivalent to other escort agencies entrusting extraordinary escort agency to do the business. Then the situation was different. Although the escort agencies in the underworld were unwilling to offend Murong Bo, they could not disobey the orders of a gold medal escort. Gold medal escort? At this moment, in Murong Villa, Murong Bo sneered when he heard the news. Does this brat think that he can go against my Murong Villa? What a joke. Murong Bo was wearing a clean and loose martial attire as he sat cross-legged in the training room. Because of the higher-ups, he was currently grounded and could not leave Murong Villa. Zhang Feng was kneeling in front of him, waiting for his order. Let's not talk about this, Li Fan. Let's talk about you, Zhang Feng. Murong Bo poured himself a cup of hot tea and slowly took a sip. In the past, I thought that you worked hard. But now, you disappoint me more and more. Sorry, Master. Zhang Feng lowered his head with an expressionless face. No one knew what he was thinking. I didn't invest in you to open the World Escort Agency so that you and Li Fan could be sworn brothers. Although he was in the villa, Murong Bo's informants were everywhere. Becoming sworn brothers with Li Fan was just to appease him first. Zhang Feng said, "Wait until I gain his favor and make him let down his guard against me. Then, I will take the opportunity to end his life and remove a worry for you, Master." Although this Li Fan is somewhat annoying, it is not enough for me to worry about him too much. Murong Bo held the teacup and said slowly, Murong Bo, can pinch this little Li Fan to death with just one hand. What I'm worried about is my daughter. She's still thinking about Li Fan. Only by getting rid of Li Fan can she calm down. I will definitely do my best, Jiang Feng begged. On account of disciples' loyalty and devotion, can disciples see little Yi? Oh, Morong put the teacup on the table. It's not the day yet, and you already want to see him? Because I plan to go into seclusion and train hard to reach a strength similar to that of Li Fan, Jiang Feng said. Therefore, I want to see little Yi before I go into seclusion. Sure, Morong Bo agreed. Morong Bo, am not the kind of unreasonable person. Before I go into seclusion, I will let you see me. Thank you, master. Jiang Feng was about to thank him when he was stopped by Morong Bo. Don't thank me in a hurry. I have something to say first. Master, please enlighten me. Jiang Feng, although I, Morong Bo, am tolerant, I am not willing to indulge you. You have failed so many times. If you do the same next time, I think you should know the consequences. Yes, disciple knows. Jiang Feng hurriedly replied. Okay, then drink this medicine. Morong Bo said, threw a pill into the tea, and handed it to Jiang Feng. Jiang Feng did not hesitate to pick up the tea and drink it. In less than 5 seconds, he fell on the tea table, unconscious. Morong Bo carried Jiang Feng and walked out of the room. Jiang Feng was unconscious for a whole day and night. When he woke up, he found himself in a damp dungeon. There was a water dungeon next to him, and a thin teenager was locked inside. The teenager had been locked up for God knows how long. His skin was extremely pale, and many places were damaged by the water. The teenager was on the verge of death. His hair was scattered in front of his face, covering his face. Little Yi. When Jiang Feng saw him, he was a little excited. He went forward and grabbed the railing. But the teenager was soaked in the water. He did not know if he was asleep or awake. Little Yi, how are you? The teenager did not answer Jiang Feng. Only his light breathing could be heard. Little Yi, don't worry. I will definitely get you out. Jiang Feng bit his lips so hard that blood came out from the corner of his mouth. Bear with it a little more. The teenager still did not speak. Jiang Feng told the teenager a lot of things from the bottom of his heart. This Li Fan is somewhat amazing. If we were both ordinary martial artists, we might become friends. But unfortunately, we can only be enemies. Jiang Feng talked for a long time and seemed to be a little tired. After brother kills him, I will come back to get you out of this dungeon. At that time, I will become the Martial Arts Alliance leader. You will be the Martial Arts Alliance leader's younger brother. Everyone will have to be respectful to you. I want to see who in this pugilistic world dares to bully us brothers. Jiang Feng, time is up. A shout came from outside. Jiang Feng stood up and tidied up his clothes. Little Yi, bear with it for a few more days. I will come back to get you soon. Jiang Feng looked at his younger brother reluctantly. He then took a cup of tea from a jailer and swallowed it. He fainted again and was sent out of this dungeon. When Jiang Feng woke up, he was already sent back to the World Escort Agency. Shui Wuxin was sitting beside him. She was using a small stove to brew medicine for him. Big brother Jiang, you are awake. Shui Wuxin said gently, just in time. The medicine is almost done. What medicine is it? Blood and qi replenishing. Shui Wuxin poured the medicine into a bowl. Last time Big brother Jiang fought with Li Fan, you used up a lot of blood and qi. You need to replenish it. You are considerate. Jiang Feng gave her a smile. I am preparing to go into seclusion these few days. I will leave the escort agency's matters to you. And I will handle it properly. I will not let you down. Jiang Feng took the medicine. Although the medicine was bitter, his expression did not change as he drank it in one gulp. At the same time, Li Fan was busy looking for someone. Lei has not appeared for a few days. Where is he? Li Fan frowned as he asked Ling Tian, who was in charge of the intelligence system. I have not seen him for a few days. Ling Tian rubbed his temples. I sent some people to look for him, but there was no news. I don't care about him. He is probably sleeping in some brothel. The devil incarnate was lying on the sofa at the side. As he checked the 38 styles in his hand, he mumbled. Last time he went to Tianjin to smash the cannons. It made me look for him for a long time. I was outside in the wind and sun while he was having fun on a woman's belly. His phone was turned off. I can't find him at home. The situation is not right. Ling Tian was not as optimistic as the devil incarnate, although Lei is a bit playful. He will inform me wherever he goes. This time, he didn't give me any information. Recently, isn't he together with a woman who plays with cars? Lin Yushin was doing accounts at the side. When she heard this, she raised her head and interrupted. Chapter 845. A woman who played with cars? Li Fan suddenly remembered that Huang Lei had mentioned that he had been playing with a group of people recently, and he even had a chick. I have an impression. Ling Tian tried hard to recall. What was that woman's name again? He even brought her back for me to have a look. She was dressed shabbily, and I could tell she was a delinquent girl. Zhang Chuchu. Lin Yin's photographic memory was not just for show. They raced a cat ear mountain. That girl was quite young, looking about 16 or 17 years old. Lin said with great familiarity, "Miss Lin, your head is a treasure trove." Devil Incarnate couldn't help but exclaim, "I think you've only seen her once." "How could you remember?" "Well, I can't forget things that I've seen once," Lin Yun said casually. Domineering, Devil Incarnate gave a thumbs up. This ability, he couldn't do it. Except for women, Devil Incarnate could forget everything else very quickly. It's not a good thing to go on like this. Li Fan couldn't just watch Huang Lei go missing. "How about this, Devil Incarnate? You come with me to talk to that girl." "Ah?" Devil Incarnate was a little surprised. "You want me to go?" "Yes." Li Fan nodded, but Devil Incarnate shook his head repeatedly. No, I won't go. Recently, I've been smuggling some stuff for my family. Have you forgotten?" Li Fan remembered that Devil Incarnate was recently responsible for helping the escort agency transport some important supplies. A group of security guards trained by Li Fan. They were all armed to the extreme. "I'll go with you." Lin Yun stood up. "It's easier to communicate with girls." "Ah." Li Fan looked at Lin Yun with some surprise. "You really want to go? Otherwise, why would I lie to you?" Lin Yun put her hands behind her back and winked at Li Fan. "You're so careless. You need a girl to help you. All right, then come with me." Li Fan had no choice but to rely on Lin Yuchen. "That's more like it. Let's go then." Lin Yuchen seemed rather happy to be able to act alone with Li Fan. She couldn't wait any longer and walked out the door. Now, Li Fan felt that Lin Yuchen was a little anxious. At 9 p.m., they started racing at Cat Ear Mountain. Lin Yuchen reminded him, "If you don't hurry up, there won't be enough time." "All right." Li Fan followed Lin Yuchen downstairs. Lin Yuchen directly brought Li Fan to the back of the security agency. Ling Tian's modified Yuyin was parked there. "We're driving this car?" "Yes. At least it's a modified car." Lin Yuchen nodded. Ling Tian modified it again. "I heard that there's a 12-cylinder engine inside now. It's very powerful. So cool, but I don't know how to drive." Li Fan took out his phone. "Let old son drive." "No need, I'll drive." Lin Yuchen had already opened the car door and sat in the driver's seat. Then she crooked her finger at Li Fan. "Get in." "Damn, you know how to drive?" Li Fan was shocked. "Is there anything I don't know?" Lin Yuchen blinked at Li Fan. "That's true." Li Fan sat in the front passenger seat. Lin Yuchen stepped on the accelerator, and the car slowly moved. "Why is this car so slow?" Li Fan was puzzled. "I didn't turn on the exhaust." Lin Yuchen rolled her eyes at Li Fan. "This is the city. Are you waiting for the police to come and arrest you?" "That's true. Speeding will get you a ticket." "Speeding will get you a ticket. Illegally modifying a car will get your car impounded. Using a fake license plate will get you 12 penalty points." Lin Yuchen said, "But most importantly, driving without a license will get you arrested." "What? Driving without a license?" Li Fan blinked. "Ah, there's a traffic police." Lin Yuchen saw there was a traffic police officer in front of them and blocked their way. She turned on the exhaust and then shifted the gear to S. The car suddenly let out a roaring sound. Following that, the whole car seemed to have gone crazy as it sped forward. Li Fan was ruthlessly pressed against the back of the seat. Before the traffic police could react, This Swift had flashed past them, bringing with it a strong gust of wind. "Stop! Stop!" The traffic police roared at the Swift. Two of them had already entered the police car. But Lin Yuan was like an experienced driver. She nimbly stepped on the accelerator, turned the steering wheel, and drove through the streets. Soon, the traffic police car disappeared without a trace. In less than 10 minutes, they had reached the outskirts and arrived at Cat Ear Mountain. Although Li Fan had practiced martial arts, he was still scared to the point that he was drenched in cold sweat as if he had just taken a bath. Who did you learn how to drive?" After the car slowed down, Li Fan finally caught his breath and asked. "I learned it from the TV." Lin Yuan's words made Li Fan's pants a little wet. "Fuck, I got into an illegal car." In this secluded Cat Ear Mountain, from time to time, the roar of the car engine could be heard. "They should be here." Lin Yuan also heard the sound of the car engine. "Let's go up." "Where are they?" "At the top of the mountain." "Drive slowly." "Call me good sister, and I will drive slowly." Lin Yin's mouth raised into a smile. Li Fan was so angry that he almost cried. Fuck, this Lin Yuan had also learned bad things. "Let's go." Lin Yuan shifted the car to S as Li Fan hurriedly shouted, "Good sister, let's slow down." "No problem." Lin Yuan slowed down the car and slowly drove along the mountain road toward the top of the mountain. When Li Fan arrived at the top of the mountain, he found that there were already a lot of cars parked there. Most of them were sports cars, and occasionally there were 2 supercars. A lot of young people gathered here. Some were drinking, some were quarreling. It was as lively as one could imagine. This place was filled with a wild atmosphere. As if it was not wild here, it was not normal. Li Fan and the others slowly drove the car over. It was an ordinary little Swift, so no one paid attention to it. But Lin Yuan pointed to a red Ferrari F12 and said, "That's the car. Zhang Chuchu is standing there." Li Fan looked over. Beside the red Ferrari stood a young woman wearing a white mink top and a pair of jeans with holes on her lower body. This girl had thick smoky makeup, and her eyes were painted like a panda. But she was very thin, and her legs were as thin as bones, which did not look like the style that Huang Lei liked. "This is Zhang Chuchu, the girl that Huang Lei had flirted with before?" Li Fan was a little surprised. "She doesn't look like me. At least her figure is much different from what I imagined." "Yes, it is indeed her. The first time I saw her, I was also shocked." Lin Yuan nodded, proving that Li Fan did not see wrongly. Chapter 846. Li Fan still can't believe his eyes. Huang Lei would like this kind of woman? This is impossible. Is Huang Lei blind? AI. Why does it sound so weird? Although the girl in front of him is quite thin, Li Fan doesn't like her heavy makeup. After all, he is spoiled by Lin Yin and Murong Ying. Naturally, he can't tolerate this kind of girl. "Go and ask her." Li Fan told Lin Yi, "You sit in the car and don't come out. It's a bit messy outside. Lock the door." "Okay, you go and find out what's going on." Lin Yuan nodded and watched Li Fan get off the car. Li Fan, still wearing his school uniform, approached Zhang Chuchu, who was wearing a smoky outfit. "Are you Zhang Chuchu?" Although the surroundings are very noisy, Li Fan's voice clearly passed to Zhang Chuchu's ears. Zhang Chuchu chewed her gum and looked at Li Fan with disdain. "Little friend, what are you doing here? Looking for your mom?" "Looking for you." Li Fan is not angry, but calmly looked at the flamboyant Zhang Chuchu. "I have something to ask you. Do I know you, little friend?" Zhang Chuchu squinted her eyes at Li Fan. "Zhang Chuchu, I seem to be 1 or 2 years older than you." Li Fan estimated this girl's age to be at most 18 years old. Although she is dressed like a hipster, it's hard to conceal her immaturity. "It's none of your business. Are you asking for a beating?" Zhang Chuchu glared at Li Fan with a fierce look. "Brat, what do you want with my girlfriend?" A rich young master with dyed yellow hair got out of the Ferrari, holding a beautiful axe in his hand. He looked at Li Fan with disdain. "Looking for trouble? I just want to ask some questions. I'll leave once I'm done." Li Fan was still polite. "Zhang Chuchu, do you know Huang Lei?" At the mention of Huang Lei, the two's expressions changed. Zhang Chuchu's expression turned ugly, while the rich blonde boy roared. Motherfucker, you're here to cause trouble. Where's that idiot Huang Lei? Get him out here. I still want to have another match with him. Looks like you don't know. Li Fan looked at Zhang Chuchu and said, but your girlfriend seems to know. She broke up with Huang Lei a long time ago. Hurry up and scram, or your father will chop you to death. Young Master Fu cursed, my family is rich. Even if I chop you to death, I'll just compensate you with some money. Hurry up and get lost. Zhang Chuchu, don't you want to tell me? Li Fan looked at Zhang Chuchu, ignored young Master Fu, and asked, although he's a bit frivolous, he's still a brother who's been through life and death with me. Now that something has happened to him, I can't ignore it. I'll let you ask. Young Master Fu was finally angry. He picked up the hand axe and chopped towards Li Fan. Li Fan casually raised his right hand and used 2 fingers to clamp young Master Fu's hand axe. Zhang Chuchu, please tell me. Thank you. Zhang Chuchu and young Master Fu were both stunned. He only used 2 fingers to clamp the hand axe? What kind of background did this high school student have? Young Master Fu wanted to pull out his hand axe, but Li Fan exerted force with 2 fingers. With a cracking sound, the hand axe was immediately snapped by his fingers. Young Master Fu was dumbfounded. Are you willing to tell me? Li Fan asked again. I can't tell you. Zhang Chuchu shook her head. Do you think that I'm a bit too friendly? Li Fan's eyes narrowed slightly. Zhang Chuchu felt a terrifying aura coming from Li Fan's body, as if a man was holding a dagger to her throat. It made her hair stand on end, and all her hair stand on end. Why don't you have a match with us? Zhang Chuchu pointed to little Yuyin behind Li Fan. I saw you drove here. Then let's follow our rules. Beat us on the Cat Ear Mountain track, and I'll tell you about Huang Lei. If you lose, leave quickly. Looking at Zhang Chuchu's appearance, Li Fan felt that even if he forced her, he wouldn't be able to force her to say anything. It's good to test the waters and see what kind of tricks this girl is playing. Kid, no matter what means you used, I've never lost on this track. Young Master Fu pointed to his supercar. If you lose, you have to leave your car behind. Sure, Li Fan was confident. Then what if you lose? How about you leave your car behind? Fuck, let's do it. Many people around shouted that young Master Fu wasn't worth it, but young Master Fu was still young Master Fu. He didn't care about money at all. He just wanted to win against Li Fan to wash away the shame just now. Li Fan turned his head and glanced. Lin Yuxin also heard Li Fan's words and nodded to him. Lin Yuxin looked like a well-behaved girl, but in fact, she especially liked exciting things. Otherwise, she wouldn't have secretly learned how to race. Li Fan sat back in the car and fastened his seatbelt. Lin Yuxian drove the little Yuyin and slowly stopped at the starting point of the track. Next to it was the Ferrari F12 that was burning its tires. Are you confident? Li Fan looked at Lin Yuxian, who was putting on a pair of racing gloves, and asked, according to probability, if our car is competing against the opponent's F12, we only have a 2% chance of winning. Lin Yuxian analyzed. However, our car was modified by Ling Tian, so it can increase our chances of winning by 35%. Also, if I drive, it can increase by another 10%. That's 47%. It's not even half. Li Fan curled his lips. But with you, it'll be 100%. Lin Yuxian glanced at Li Fan. Aren't you the biggest cheat in this race? Ah! Li Fan laughed dryly. If you say that, I won't refute you. Come, don't disappoint them. Don't worry, I guarantee they'll be satisfied. Lin Yuxian waited for the signal to start the race. A woman wearing shorts in the middle of winter walked to the front and raised the LED panel in her hands high up. Countdown, the beautiful woman said sweetly. She raised the panel up high, and the countdown began. In the Ferrari next door, the rich young master was still mocking Li Fan. Letting a woman drive? Such garbage. Your broken car, I'm going to leave it here today. However, I'm not interested in your garbage car. After I win, I'll smash it and hear the sound. I'm afraid that won't work. Li Fan shrugged. This car is Ling Tian's treasure. I don't care. Eat your fart. The countdown on the signal board reached 0. Lin Yuxian and the rich young master stepped on the accelerator almost at the same time. The two cars sped out at the same time, but the Ferrari F12 speed was obviously faster. It sped out and brought up a trail of dust. Lin Yuan, on the other hand, didn't panic. She put the car into S gear and began to accelerate, following behind the Ferrari. Chapter 847. With the speed of a Ferrari, how could a Swift compare to it? Almost no one was optimistic about Li Fan's chances. This Swift was only fit to eat dust behind the Ferrari. Cat Ear Mountain was surrounded by mountain roads. In front of them was a large winding road with a 90-degree angle. When they reached here, the rich young master hurriedly stepped on the brakes and slowed down the Ferrari. This place was known as a curve of death. If they didn't slow down, the car would rush down. However, Lin Yuan stepped on the accelerator all the way, almost stepping into the gas tank. She pulled it to S and turned on the air intake switch. The 12-cylinder engine finally reached its limit. Two streams of flames shot out from the Swift throat. Lin Yuan didn't have the slightest intention of slowing down. She drove the car to its maximum speed and directly rushed towards the 90-degree curve. Fuck, are they crazy? The rich young master was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat. They were going to die. However, Lin Yuan coordinated with the accelerator and the steering wheel. She had already calculated the car's trajectory. According to her calculations, the car directly turned and made a big circle at the 90-degree curve. Then, with a beautiful drift, it turned around just like that. However, at the last corner, the rear tires slid off the mountain road. If they continued to slide, both of them would die in a car crash. This was the meaning of Li Fan's existence. He raised his hand and released his true chi. It was as if a huge, invisible hand was supporting the bottom of the car. Unexpectedly, the Swift was lifted up and pressed back onto the mountain road. The Swift completed a big drift. Then, it maintained its high speed and sped down the mountain. They are crazy. The rich young master couldn't help but curse. These two people were simply crazy. Crazy. He also wanted to test the other party's method of drifting, but he resisted. Although he liked racing and looking for excitement, he wasn't a fool. He wouldn't throw his life away. It was just a bend. It didn't matter. There was a long tunnel in front of them. It was a straight road. There was a 100% chance that they could overtake the Swift. The two cars sped madly on the mountain road one after the other. Soon, both of them drove into a mountain tunnel. The deep tunnel was a straight line that was 5 kilometers long, leading to the end of the mountain. After a few turns, the Ferrari 12 had been left far behind. But on this tunnel, the Ferrari had already begun to move, fiercely chasing after the Swift. Although Xiao Yuyan had already changed to a 12-cylinder engine, it was still a distance away from a supercar. Before long, the Ferrari would overtake little Yuyan and leave her behind. "I'll leave it to you." Lin Yuan drove steadily and ordered. "No problem." Li Fan stretched out his hand. True Chi appeared behind him and formed an invisible wind wall in front of the Ferrari. The speed of the Ferrari was directly slowed down. No matter how young Master Fu stepped on the accelerator, the speed of the car couldn't go up. Only the angry roar of the engine could be heard. "Fuck! Fuck! Fuck!" Young Master Fu cursed. "What's going on?" Seeing that Xiao Yuyan was getting further and further away from him, young Master Fu felt like crying. He had already been defeated by that idiot named Huang Lei once. Could it be that he would be defeated again? Damn it. Huang Lei had defeated him by making him eat a laxative, causing him to be in a bad condition when he was driving. That's why he lost. But what's going on this time? Is there a problem with the car? Impossible. My car has been maintained very well. How could there be a problem? Strange, this is really strange. No matter how unhappy young Master Fu was, he could no longer catch up to Xiao Yuyan. In front of them was the finish line. What shocked everyone was that Xiao Yuyan had actually rushed over first and took the first place. Lin Yuan elegantly walked out of the car and swung her hair, attracting all kinds of saliva from the surrounding men. This woman was so beautiful. Moreover, she was young and tender. With one look, one could tell that she was different from those flirtatious women here. Young Master Fu's car also drove over and stopped beside Li Fan and the rest. Young Master Fu kicked open the car door and angrily looked at Li Fan. I lost unwillingly. It's my car that has a problem. So it's my fault? Li Fan shrugged his shoulders. Although this matter was indeed his fault. Who can defeat him? Who will I give 1,000,000? Young Master Fu's temper was a bit explosive. With his shout, the surrounding people became excited. One by one, they took out all kinds of weapons from their cars and shouted as they charged towards Li Fan. Hung! Li Fan was too lazy to make a move. He stomped his feet as his chi exploded and rushed out in all directions. Those punks who were shouting and rushing over were all blown away in the next second. In a blink of an eye, they were blown tens of meters away and fell to the ground. I don't have much patience. As Li Fan spoke, he kicked young Master Fu's Ferrari. The front of the Ferrari was immediately dented from the stomp. Zhang Chuchu, hurry up and say it. Lin Yin reminded Zhang Chuchu. He really doesn't have much patience. Okay, don't hit him. I'll say it. Zhang Chuchu was also frightened and quickly said, don't do it. Say it. Li Fan retracted his foot, and young Master Fu sat on the ground. Zhang Chuchu lowered her head and said slowly with a pale face, The last time I went out with Huang Lei, I saw a man in a black suit. He told me to bring Huang Lei to Cat Ear Mountains Panshan Road. Otherwise, he would kill me. Later on, when we reached Panshan Road, we hit a truck and I fainted. When I woke up, he was gone. Black suit? Do you remember what that person looked like? Li Fan frowned and asked. I don't remember. He was still wearing sunglasses. Zhang Chuchu looked like she really didn't remember. Li Fan felt that it was useless to ask further. This trip was not in vain. At least he knew that something had happened to Huang Lei. Someone must have planned to kidnap him, but didn't touch this girl. It was probably because they didn't want to cause any trouble. Or rather, this group of people was fearless and didn't care about others at all. No matter who captured Lei, I won't let him go. Li Fan frowned. Instruct Lu Xinan and Ling Tian to investigate Huang Lei's whereabouts. Even if I have to dig 3 feet into the ground, I will rescue Lei. Okay. Lin Yu nodded, but City A is still fine. If Huang Lei was taken to another city, or even abroad, how are we going to find him? There must be some clues. Li Fan said, by the way, I'll look for Little Four Eyes. Maybe he has some mutant with telekinesis who can help me. That's possible. Lin Yin's eyes lit up. I forgot that we still have a Special Abilities Bureau. Chapter 848. Li Fan transferred a mutant from the Special Abilities Bureau. This mutant was a little boy who had just turned 11 years old, but he seemed to be very mischievous. After all, after growing up in the Special Abilities Bureau and experiencing those things, it was impossible for him to be immature. The little boy stood on a winding mountain path in Cat Ear Mountain, stretched out his hand, and gently touched the stone below. Are you done? Li Fan stood beside the little boy. More than half an hour had passed, but the boy still did not answer him. If he had the ability of Prophet, he would probably know the answer at once. However, according to Bai Lin Luo, Prophet had been destroyed. Don't worry. The little boy closed his eyes and scolded. Your friend's accident happened a few days ago. I have to pull up the video from before. Li Fan quickly shut his mouth so as not to disturb the little boy. Although their abilities did not have much combat power, they had some special effects in other aspects. For example, this little boy could sense the memory of an object by touching it. This ability was extremely useful in tracking and investigating cases. After another half an hour, the little boy finally sat down and stretched out his hand to Li Fan. What do you mean? Salary. The little boy rolled his eyes. You want me to do labor, so you have to pay me a salary. What? What I said is reasonable. Then how much do you want? Li Fan wondered how Bai Lin Luo trained his subordinates. Why were they all so realistic? I'm so young. Why do I need money? I want to eat McFlurries. Huh. There isn't even a McDonald's on the island. It's boring, okay? The little boy sighed. I like eating McFlurries the most. Okay, help me settle it. I'll treat you to as many McFlurries as you want. It's a deal. You're a man, and a man can't go back on his word. The little boy said in a rather experienced manner. This is a promise between us men. Okay, thanks for your hard work. Tell me where my friend is. He was picked up by a van with the license plate number HA9949P. The little boy said, "All right." Li Fan immediately perked up. He gave Ling Tian a call and asked him to check the license plate number. "There's no need to check. I saw where the car went." The little boy stretched lazily. "Your ability can still track?" "Yes, I can see the memory of objects." The little boy said, "This is nothing." He's a little 6. Li Fan couldn't help but want to give him a thumbs up. This ability was too strong. Li Fan didn't want to send him back to the Li Family Island. Anyway, Li Family Island has been quite peaceful recently. I don't need this kid's ability. I might as well let him stay for my convenience. Where did the car go? I saw some seafood or something, the little boy tried to recall. Because the car went too far, I really can't remember. It's enough. Li Fan nodded and asked Ling Tian to investigate this seafood. In the end, they locked onto a seafood warehouse. Okay, I'll ask someone to bring you to eat McFlurry. Li Fan instructed Sun Qingchen to be his nanny for a day. He directly made a call to the Devil Incarnate. 10 minutes later, a Grand Cherokee stopped in front of Li Fan. The Devil Incarnate jumped out, wearing tattered cowboy clothes, and the Type 38 was placed on his passenger seat. This Devil Incarnate dressed very sloppily every day. He didn't wash his hair. His face was covered with dust like a beggar. He was like this slovenly and didn't pay attention to his image at all. He couldn't change this bad habit. In the future, it would be hard for him to find a girlfriend. Motherfucker, who touched Lei? I'll go kill him. The Devil Incarnate was infuriated. Lazy had actually been captured. He even swore that he went to a prostitute. Motherfucker, don't be anxious. This probably has nothing to do with the underworld. Li Fan felt that something was amiss. I called you over to let you gather a few capable brothers. We're going to search the house. Search the house? That's good. The Devil Incarnate heard and immediately became happy. Where are we going? Dongdong Seafood Warehouse. Li Fan instructed, secret identity. Put on your masks. Don't let the other party discover our identity. Okay, boss, get in the car. We'll go prepare now. Search the house and save Lei at the same time. And Li Fan sat in the car. He was still thinking hard. Who was it that caught Lei? Why did they catch Lei? If it was to threaten him, then they should have made a move long ago. Could it be that Lei had offended someone in the past? The people he offended in his early years were all small characters. Later on, they all followed him. The things that he offended were all done by him. Who could it be? Li Fan felt that his brain was not enough to process it. If only Lin Yuechan was here. She would definitely be able to help him analyze it. Boss, how many people do you need? The Devil Incarnate asked. We have more than 100 brothers. Should we call them all? Don't make a fuss. We don't need that many. Li Fan waved his hand. I want the best, not the most. Just 10 people will do. As Li Fan spoke, he picked up a compound bow from the back and fiddled with it in his hand. Do you still play with this recently? I went hunting some time ago. The Devil Incarnate explained. I bought it at that time. But I'm not good at archery. It's better to use a gun. Okay, I'll use it first. Li Fan folded the compound bow and hung it on his back. Then he took out a tiger mask from the glove box and put it on. Boss, you also know how to use a bow. The Devil Incarnate could not help but ask while driving. If you really can't do it, I'll teach you. Although my bow and arrow are not very good, at least it's better than a newbie like you. Li Fan did not say anything. He just swung the compound bow, put an arrow on it, faced the window, and casually shot an arrow. The arrow flew out and nailed a mouse crossing the street. What the? The Devil's Incarnation was taken aback. This was way too awesome. Boss, you used to play with a bow and arrow? First time? What the? The Devil Incarnate did not say anything and drove obediently. The Devil Incarnate drove directly to the security company and found 10 security guards who had been trained. All the security guards were trained before they could take up the job. When these 10 people came out, they were fully armed, no different from the special forces. All of them wore black and green special combat suits and gas masks. They jumped into an Iveco at the back. Let's go. We're going to search the house. The devil incarnate was beaming with joy. Chapter 849. Huang Lei was still tied up in the room. Other than someone coming in to get him a toilet when he went to poop and pee, no one would appear in this room. There was no one to send him food. There was a drip that kept injecting glucose into Huang Lei to ensure that he would not starve to death. A few days later, Huang Lei was emaciated and on the verge of death. They made Huang Lei weaker and weaker. Now he could not even speak. If it weren't for the glucose, he would have been dead. The voice appeared in his ear again. You don't have much time. The voice reminded Huang Lei, according to the human body's function, if you continue like this for 2 more days, your nervous system will be damaged. Even if I let you go, you can only be a cripple for the rest of your life. Is that so? Then you have to support me. Huang Lei was very weak when he spoke, almost without energy, but you don't have to worry about me. You should worry about yourself. Worry about me? Yes, because it won't be long before you die. Huang Lei drooled as he said with a smile, I'll save a place for you down there. You're still daydreaming. The voice sneered, It seems that you won't give up until you reach the Yellow River. An electric current climbed up Huang Lei's body as if it was going to tear his body apart. Although Huang Lei was in pain, he seemed to be used to this kind of pain and could not even scream. He just twitched subconsciously as saliva flowed out from the corner of his mouth. I'll wait for you down there. Huang Lei seemed to have been electrocuted to the point of delirium. He spasmed as he said that. Before the voice could say anything, a gunshot suddenly came from outside. Then it was like firecrackers outside. The gunshots came one after another as they fought. The voice left. Although Huang Lei was a little dizzy, he laughed along with it. A minute later, the door was suddenly kicked open. The sunlight shone in and hit Huang Lei's face. It was so dazzling that he subconsciously closed his eyes. He vaguely heard a familiar voice calling out to him. Lei? Huang Lei was put down and fell into the arms of the demon incarnate. Standing behind him, Li Fan frowned. Since they dared to attack Lei, these people were dead meat. Li Fan stretched out his hand, picked up a spring-returning pill, and stuffed it into Huang Lei's mouth. This rejuvenation pill was even more potent than a great tonic. After it was fed to Huang Lei immediately felt a warm current diffusing from his lower abdomen and pouring into all the bones in his body. As his strength slowly recovered, Huang Lei held onto the wall and stood up bit by bit. Big brother, Huang Lei grinned. I didn't embarrass you. Yes, you've never embarrassed me before. Li Fan patted Huang Lei's shoulder. Do you know who kidnapped you? This place had already been cleared out by Li Fan's men. Not a single person was left. I don't know either, Huang Lei shook his head, but the other party kept asking me about the gold. Gold? Li Fan frowned and couldn't help thinking. Who could it be? The only one who knew that he had robbed the treasury was Zhou Tai, right? But Zhou Tai had already gotten his share of the benefits. Would he kidnap Huang Lei and ask for the rest of the money? Not likely. Zhou Tai was a very ambitious person. He was even more interested in power. Zhou Tai had placed all his bets on him. He wouldn't fall out with him over such a small amount of money. If it wasn't him, then who could it be? Li Fan fell into deep thought. It was very difficult for him to think of an answer. He still needed Ling Tian and Lin Yuhsn to help analyze this matter. No, it would probably be very difficult for them to find it. Li Fan took out his phone and called Zhou Tai. My brother was almost killed by someone. Li Fan didn't stand on ceremony. After the call went through, he went straight to the point. What do you mean? Zhou Tai was a little puzzled after receiving the call. Why did Li Fan suddenly come to question him? My brother was messed with. That person knows that I robbed the treasury. Li Fan said, I've helped you a lot. This time, I need you to help me with something. Besides me, there should be some people from other factions in the government who know. Zhou Tai understood what Li Fan wanted to ask. He immediately said, You have a lot of enemies, Li Fan. I know I have a lot of enemies, but it's one thing to mess with me. I will never forgive those who mess with my friends and family. I can help you find out. Zhou Tai agreed immediately. You can handle the rest yourself, but don't make too much noise when you do it. Otherwise, I will cut off our relationship immediately. Don't worry. I know what to do. Li Fan hung up the phone and sent Huang Lei to the hospital. telling him to recuperate for the next few days. 3 days later, Zhou Tai finally sent a name to Li Fan's text message. Long Qingyun, the person in charge of the cleaners, the man who forced the Special Abilities Bureau to leave. No wonder he was fearless and knew that he was the one who robbed the treasury. Long Qingyun probably had 2 reasons for capturing Huang Lei. First, he wanted Huang Lei to spit out the money. Second, he probably wanted to find out the whereabouts of the Special Abilities Bureau. However, he didn't expect Huang Lei to be so tight-lipped. After so many days, he didn't manage to get even half a word of information out of him. The end of the year was approaching, but Li Fan had already gone to the imperial capital alone. A green train slowly pulled into the station. Wearing ordinary blue and black jeans and carrying a worn-out canvas bag, Li Fan followed the crowd and got off the train. The air in the imperial capital was a little hazy, but it had snowed a little in the past few days, so it was much cleaner. When Li Fan took the train, he used a fake ID. The reason why he chose this method was to deceive people. As the person in charge of the cleaners, Long Qingyun hid himself very well. It was impossible to find him so easily. However, Ling Tian and the others found a company behind Dongdong Seafood called Dongdong Seafood Limited Liability Company through Li Fan. It seemed to have some relationship with the authorities. Ling Tian and the others believed that this so-called Dongdong Seafood Limited Liability Company must have something to do with Long Qingyun. This was Li Fan's breakthrough point. After leaving the train station, Li Fan came to a small building outside the 5th ring road of the capital and met his agent. My house has good feng shui, beautiful scenery, and convenient transportation. The agent rode a small electric scooter and took Li Fan to see the house while bragging along the way. Look, it's facing south and north. There's also a royal park next to it. The feng shui and scenery are simply indescribable. After you move in, I guarantee that you'll have a lot of money and make a fortune. Also, this house is convenient for transportation. The subway station is just outside the door. Is that so? That's pretty good. Li Fan followed the agent to the place and realized how deceptive this agent was. Chapter 850. The so-called feng shui was good. There was a royal park next to it, but it was just a small, rundown park. The subway station was very close, and the transportation was convenient. Convenient my ass. The subway station was about 8 kilometers away from the house. The shortest distance was 1 kilometer away by bus. The agent introduced the house to Li Fan. It was not big, only about 30 square meters. The interior was very clean, but it was slightly damp. The house was 1 room with a bathroom, kitchen, and balcony. In the bedroom, there was an ordinary linen sofa and a simple camp bed. It was livable. Look at this place. It's economical and affordable. Other than my house, where else can you find such a good house? The agent praised Li Fan again, but Li Fan could not be bothered to listen. All right. How much is it? I'll rent it. 1,200 a month. Cheap, right? I'll rent it for a season. Deposit 1 and pay 3. If you return early, the deposit will be deducted. The agent took out the contract. Let's write it in black and white. If you have any problems with the house, you can look for me directly. The agent and Li Fan talked about the house for a long time. In the end, everything was settled. Li Fan paid the money and stayed in the house. Long Qingyun was in the capital. If he wanted to find him, he had to do it step by step in the capital. He hid very well, but Li Fan decided to start with the Dongdong Seafood. He lay on the military bed and slept until night. When the sky turned dark, Li Fan got out of bed. He washed his face and changed into a black special combat suit. Then he put on the tiger mask. At the same time, Li Fan hung the composite bow on his waist. Then he leaped out of the window. There was a black motorcycle parked downstairs. It did not have a license plate. Li Fan got on his motorcycle and rode all the way to the 6th ring road under the cover of night. The Dongdong Seafood Factory was here. At this time, the factory had stopped working, but there were a few workers sitting outside, playing poker. Only he knows how to play. A man in a jacket walked out of the factory and kicked over the table. The poker cards and change were scattered everywhere, but the workers didn't dare to make a sound. Are the goods ready? Damn it. They'll be here tomorrow morning to pick up the goods. The man in the jacket cursed angrily. We'll act now, we'll act now. The workers obediently put down the poker cards and went to load the goods. Li Fan squatted on top of a street lamp, quietly looking at the factory below. He watched as the man in the jacket walked back into the factory, while the other workers walked to the loading area. 2 guards were standing at the entrance of the factory, smoking. The 2 of them had bulging waists. It was obvious that they were guns. Li Fan took out his recurve bow, knocked an arrow, and shot through the head of a guard, nailing him to the door behind him. The other guard was shocked and subconsciously pulled out the pistol behind his waist. However, another arrow had already pierced through the air and flew over, piercing through his heart and sending him flying out, nailing him to the door. The 2 people were nailed there like specimens. Li Fan silently fell from the sky and gently landed on the ground. Li Fan approached the factory, and a worker happened to see Li Fan at a glance. "Someone is here!" The worker shouted at the same time, pulled out his pistol, aimed at Li Fan, and began to shoot. Li Fan hid behind the machine next to him, dodging the bullet. Li Fan did not want to expose his kung fu, so he disguised himself as an avenger. He pulled the recurve bow and shot an arrow into the sky. Li Fan did not use much strength, but the arrow drew a parabola in the air and finally fell on the head of the worker who fired the shot, piercing through his head. The gunshot had alarmed the people in the factory. The workers here were all equipped with guns. They rushed out of the factory and began to shoot at Li Fan. Li Fan picked up the 2 pistols and leaned behind the steel machine. He removed the magazine from one of the pistols and put it in his pocket. He closed his eyes and formed a domain with his true chi, sensing the position of all the workers in the factory. After locking onto these people, Li Fan suddenly rolled to the side and at the same time fired 3 shots in a row, shooting 3 workers to the ground. Li Fan continued to move around, hiding behind the surrounding machines to cover his body. Whenever he found an opportunity, he would shoot, and every time he did so, he would shoot down a factory worker. There were not many workers in the factory, and in just a moment, Li Fan killed them all. He sorted out his weapons and stood up from the cover. This was definitely not an ordinary factory. How could all the ordinary workers be equipped with pistols? Li Fan's guess was not wrong. He walked directly to the factory's office and kicked open the door. Bang! Li Fan dodged to the side, and the door was smashed to pieces. The man in the jacket was holding a shotgun and roared at Li Fan. "Motherfucker, I will kill you." The man in the jacket walked out with his shotgun and chased after Li Fan, wanting to turn him into a hornet's nest. Li Fan leaned against the wall and waited for the man in the jacket to reveal his shotgun before pushing it up. With a bang, the shotgun's bullet hit the ceiling above his head, cracking the wall and causing it to fall down. Li Fan raised his foot and kicked the man in the jacket, sending him flying. At the same time, he dodged the man's shotgun. The man in the jacket slammed into the table behind him, causing it to overturn. As for Li Fan, he walked in and stepped on the man in the jacket with 1 foot. He raised his shotgun and pointed it at the man's head. "Speak, where is Long Qinyan?" Li Fan's voice came through the mask and asked coldly. The man in the jacket, who was aggressive just now, was now scared to the point of peeing. Li Fan was wearing a tiger mask, like a beast from hell, ready to reap his life at any time. Who is Long Qinyan?" "I don't know, Bang." Li Fan broke this guy's arm with 1 shot. The man in the jacket screamed in pain like a pig being slaughtered, but Li Fan did not have any sympathy for him. "Speak quickly." I really don't know." Bang. Li Fan broke this guy's leg again. He fainted from the pain and was woken up by Li Fan with water. The man in the jacket was in despair. "This guy is simply a demon. I beg you, let me go, I really don't know anything." The man in the jacket cried until he peed his pants. "Where is Long Qinyan?" Li Fan sat on the boss's chair with his legs on the table. He raised the shotgun and pointed it at the man in the jacket who was lying on the ground. With 1 leg broken, even if he wanted to run, he couldn't. Chapter 851. The shotgun in Li Fan's hand had a dark muzzle, which made the man in the jacket feel desperate. I really don't know who Long Qingyun is. If I'm lying, let me be struck by lightning." The voice of the man in the jacket was hoarse, as if saying these few words had exhausted all his strength. Bang! Li Fan shot the wall next to him, and the wall's paint flew everywhere. The man in the jacket was so scared that his whole body twitched. He was really going to collapse. You can kill me? I'm going to die anyway." "You really don't know who Long Qingyun is?" Seeing the reaction of the man in the jacket, Li Fan felt that what he said was probably true. This guy probably didn't know Long Qingyun. "My biological brother, my biological father, my biological uncle. I really don't know who Long Qingyun is." The man in the jacket felt that there was a turning point and quickly shouted, "If I know this son of a bitch, let my body fester and die." "All right," Li Fan nodded. Since the other party didn't know, there was no need for him to continue asking. He changed the question and looked at the man in the jacket. "Tell me, who is the boss of this factory?" It's my cousin." The man in the jacket betrayed his cousin without hesitation. "He handed the factory to me, and then came to the factory every day to deliver goods, pack them, stuff them with fish and seafood, and then take them away." "Oh." Li Fan raised his eyebrows, feeling that he had found a breakthrough. "Who is your cousin? When will he come to collect the goods?" "My cousin is called Wang Erzhu, now known as Buddha Hand in the pugilistic world." The man in the jacket quickly said his cousin's name. "He used to be a smuggler. Later, I don't know what kind of evil spirit he had, but he started this seafood factory." "What time will he come to collect the goods?" Li Fan asked. 2 in the morning. It is coming soon." Hero, I have told you everything I know. Please be merciful and let me go. My worthless life is not worth wasting a bullet on." The man in the jacket kept begging. Li Fan nodded. "That's true." Just as the man in the jacket revealed a joyful smile, Li Fan had already pulled the trigger. The burst of shrapnel directly blew the upper half of the man in the jacket away. "But these are your own bullets." Li Fan threw the shotgun aside. He wrapped his fingers with true qi so that no fingerprints would be left. This kind of gunfight was obviously caused by a gang fight. No one would suspect martial artists no matter what. Li Fan thought about it and picked up the man's shotgun again. There were also 8 red shotgun bullets attached to the gun, enough for Li Fan to fire a few shots. He examined the shotgun. It was probably a gun that had been used for a year or two. All the parts were well maintained. Li Fan tidied up his tiger mask, then walked out of the factory and went directly to the unloading area. There were dozens of wooden boxes of goods placed on the unloading area. Li Fan walked in front of one of the boxes and smashed it with the shotgun. A lot of fish and prawns leaked out of the box along with ice cubes and scattered on the ground. Li Fan poured out the fish and prawns in the box and revealed an ice hockey the size of a soccer ball. He held in his hand and found a bag of white powder sealed inside the ice hockey ball. Drugs? This was the first thought that flashed through Li Fan's mind. He held the ice hockey ball in his hand and urged the true qi in his body to apply it to the ice hockey ball. The ice hockey ball quickly heated up and soon melted into water. The water flowed to the ground and white smoke billowed out. Li Fan took out a bag of white powder and poured out a little. Then he gently sniffed it. This time, Li Fan almost fell into a trap. A sense of power filled Li Fan's body. He was suddenly full of spirit and joy, as if he was about to ascend. This feeling only appeared when he sucked in other people's true qi. After inhaling a mouthful of the white powder, the true qi in his body began to increase rapidly. It was as if this white powder was some kind of special true energy supplement. No, it was different from the returning origin pill. The returning origin pill could restore the true energy in one's body, but this white powder could create a kind of true energy and enter one's body. It was like the true qi that was plundered from others. The same feeling, the same happiness, but it came from different things. No! Li Fan secretly thought that this was not good. This powder was definitely not drugs. It should be some kind of special drug that was specially made for martial artists. It could greatly increase the true qi in a martial artist's body. My God! There were so many wooden boxes here. If each of them hid such a bag of white powder, then in one night it could create a Grandmaster-level expert. Who was it that had such a powerful powder? According to the law of conservation of energy, it was impossible for a large amount of true qi to appear out of thin air. And this white powder, what was its origin? Li Fan suddenly felt a little frightened. An unprecedented horror poured into his body and entered his internal organs. Scary. Li Fan had an impulse to destroy all the wooden boxes, but he knew that it was useless to do so. The person who created this thing must be continuously producing this thing. And another impulse was that Li Fan wanted to consume all the white powder. If that was the case, he would be happy and could become stronger. Why not? Li Fan suddenly slapped his own mouth. How could he think like that? Practicing martial arts was originally a hard practice, and it was a matter of gradual improvement. He actually wanted to reap without sowing. This was really not right. Just as Li Fan was thinking about how to deal with these things, a roar suddenly came from behind. Kid, what are you doing? How could you break these things? Do you know how much these things are worth? Even if you sold yourself, you wouldn't be able to afford it. Li Fan turned around and saw a young man wearing a black down jacket rushing towards him. There was a red truck parked beside him. Li Fan's body trembled. He put away his random thoughts and carefully looked at the man in the down jacket in front of him. The opportunity had come. When he turned his head, it was a man with a tiger's head. The man in the down jacket was also shocked. Enemy! This guy's reaction was not slow. He subconsciously wanted to pull out his gun, but Li Fan's speed was obviously faster than him. Li Fan quickly shot an arrow. An arrow pierced through the man's wrist and pierced his hand, causing him to scream in pain. You don't have much backbone. Li Fan walked over and looked at the young man who was kneeling on the ground and screaming in pain. Speak. Which company sent you? Bah! The other party directly spat on him, but it was blocked by Li Fan's true qi. Looks like you refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Chapter 852. The young man in the down jacket looked quite unyielding. Even though his hand was pierced, he still looked at Li Fan angrily, as if he wanted to skin him alive. This guy was a ruthless character. If he was not subdued by him, he would probably fight to the death with him. However, fighting to the death was one thing. Whether he could fight to the death was another matter. I'll ask you again. Who sent you here? Li Fan asked again, but the young man gritted his teeth and glared at Li Fan. Even if you kill me, I won't say it. Li Fan nodded. He did not use his gun. He just squatted down and stretched out 2 fingers and poked the young man's forehead. Crane tap. A surge of energy entered the young man's forehead and poured into the young man's body. A huge force began to tear the young man's body apart, causing him to scream and bleed from his 7 orifices. This move of Li Fan was more terrifying than any punishment. The young man's eyes and mouth were crooked, and he could not even scream. It was as if thousands of worms had drilled into his body and were constantly tearing at the young man's flesh and blood. The young man was in so much pain that he wished he could die immediately. Li Fan retracted his power. Only then did the young man feel much better and let out a long sigh of relief. Kill me, the young man said with a trembling voice. Li Fan did not reply and poked the young man's head with 2 fingers. The young man was on the verge of collapse again. His internal organs felt like they were about to split open. He could neither live nor die. He couldn't even faint. All he could do was endure his own pain. Li Fan retracted his internal force and looked at the young man again. Kill me. The young man's words were barely audible. However, Li Fan's hearing was much better than ordinary people. He could still hear it clearly. Li Fan used crane tap again. The young man could not even scream. His body was trembling, and he began to lose control of his bowels. Tell me, and I will set you free. Li Fan spoke again. By Lily Gang. After the young man threw out these 3 words, no matter how Li Fan used Dienha, he did not utter a single word. It seemed that this guy had nothing to offer him. Li Fan was merciful. He picked up the shotgun and shot him in the head. The headless body of the young man lay there. Li Fan did not even bother to clean it up. He directly threw the wooden boxes onto the truck and then sat in the truck. Lily Gang, this name was a little awkward. Li Fan sat in the car a little confused. Where's the Lily Gang? As Li Fan was thinking, The young man's phone suddenly rang in the car. He took it out and looked at it. It was a text message. The delivery location has changed. Arrive at Phoenix Mountain Villa within half an hour. The message disappeared in a flash. Li Fan wanted to take another look, but because he didn't know the password, he couldn't open the phone. He put the phone back on the truck and finally found a breakthrough. Phoenix Mountain Villa. However, he did not know how to drive this truck. However, this was not a problem for Li Fan. He used his true chi to drag the motorcycle onto the truck. Then he used his true chi to wrap the truck and slowly move forward. There was no need for a driver at all. Li Fan's true chi could control the truck. He followed the navigation all the way to Phoenix Mountain Villa before the sky brightened. Along the way, Li Fan did not contact anyone. He did not want to leak the news that he was in the imperial capital to others. 20 minutes later, the truck slowly approached the villa. As Li Fan sat in the car, his muscles and bones began to slowly change. Soon, Li Fan's appearance was infinitely close to the young man in the down jacket. Although it was only about 60% similar, after Li Fan wore a cap, the difference could not be seen. Li Fan's car slowly approached the gate of the villa. When he passed by the sentry post, he picked up a pass from the car and stuck it on the window. The guard in the sentry post looked at Li Fan a few times and scolded, "Damn, why did you come so late?" While scolding, he opened the iron gate. "Hurry up and get in. Third Master has been waiting for you." Third Master? Who is this person? Li Fan did not say anything. He drove the car into the villa, but the awkward thing came. He did not know where to go. There were a lot of guards in black suits patrolling the manor. One of the guards' eyes fell on Li Fan's car. Looking at the truck that was getting slower and slower, he slightly frowned. "Why are you still here?" The guard, carrying a shotgun, walked toward Li Fan and bluntly asked. "The car has a breakdown." Li Fan explained. "What breakdown?" The guard approached and put his face on the window. "Hurry up and fix it." Li Fan stretched out his hand and directly pressed on the guard's head, smashing his head on the window. The guard suddenly fainted. Li Fan then pulled him into the car. Li Fan quickly changed into the guard's uniform and then jumped out of the car. The things in the car could not be moved for the time being. Li Fan pulled the truck to the back of a nearby house and hid it. After he finished his business, he would come back and take the things away. These things were worth studying. After Li Fan changed into the guard's uniform, he carried the shotgun, put on a pair of black sunglasses, and confidently walked into the Phoenix Mountain Villa. The villa was very big. Li Fan really did not know who to look for. Right, he should look for that third master and ask. Perhaps he could get some information. Li Fan saw a guard standing in front of him, secretly smoking. He immediately walked over. Li Fan was silent. His footsteps did not make any sound. But even so, when Li Fan approached the guard's back, the guard actually reacted. He raised the shotgun hanging on his shoulder and was ready to shoot Li Fan. However, Li Fan was even faster. He slapped the man's chin from below, sending him flying and crashing heavily into the wall behind him. Li Fan stretched out his hand and grabbed the guard's neck in midair. "Where is Third Master?" Li Fan asked coldly. The guard struggled a few times, but he could not break free from Li Fan's steel-like palm. The guard's face turned red. Fear appeared in his eyes. Li Fan slightly loosened his grip. Only then did the guard was able to speak. "He's fishing by the lake," the guard said in a hoarse voice. "Thank you." Li Fan twisted his hand and directly broke the guard's neck. This time, Li Fan had already made up his mind. Li Fan intended to not let a single one of Long Qingyun's people live. These businesses should be Long Qingyun's own businesses. Since Long Qingyun dared to touch Li Fan's people, Li Fan was prepared to uproot all his businesses. He wanted to let Long Qingyun know that some people cannot be provoked. Li Fan carried the shotgun again and walked toward the lake. Chapter 853. This Phoenix Mountain Villa had built an artificial lake. Although it was already winter, there was a heating system installed in the lake. Therefore, even in the middle of winter, the lake was still sparkling and the fish in the water were still swimming around. An old man in a Chinese tunic suit was sitting there, holding a fishing rod, calmly fishing. Behind him stood two 2-meter-tall bodyguards. Each of them had a strong build and were black. With one glance, one could tell that they were professional bodyguards hired at a high price. There were also a few gunmen patrolling around, each of them carrying a shotgun or AP-90. Third Master, the things have been delivered. A bodyguard put down the phone and respectfully said to the Third Master. And the old man in the Chinese tunic suit nodded. I don't like people who are not punctual. The bodyguard understood the meaning behind the old man's words. He lowered his voice and secretly said, "The one who picked up the goods is your grandson. It's fine to be late occasionally, as long as the things are delivered." The Third Master added another sentence. Third Master is right. Recently, those people are a bit too much. The dividends they give us are getting less and less. The Third Master leisurely said while fishing, "If this goes on, such a big family will be hard to feed." Then what instructions does the Third Master have? The bodyguard asked. Sometimes I also feel helpless. The Third Master leisurely said, "These things, other than Long Qing Yun, there are others who want them. If the price given by Long Qing Yun is still so low, then I can only find another buyer." You don't want to cooperate with Long Qing Yun? The bodyguard was a bit surprised but didn't say anything else. The Third Master nodded. Cooperating with the government is tantamount to asking a tiger for its skin. We have cooperated for so long, it's time to make a new choice. While speaking, a fish had already bitten the hook and was pulled up by the Third Master. Right now, we're like this fish that are being fed. It looks like we are living a good life, but we don't know when we will be hooked and made into a dish. What the Third Master said is right. The bodyguard nodded again and again. He didn't know much about these things, but the Third Master had been in the capital for a long time. He knew these things the best. What are you doing? Just as Master San was continuing to fish, a gunman beside him suddenly shouted. A man walked over from the opposite side. He was wearing a tiger mask on his head and holding a shotgun in his hand. Just as the gunman shouted, the tiger-headed man raised his shotgun and blasted the gunman away. Elder San frowned, and two black bodyguards immediately stood in front of him to protect him. The surrounding gunmen started firing, but the tiger-headed man was very calm. He picked up the corpses on the ground and used them as a shield. He stretched out one arm and raised the shotgun with one hand. He aimed at the gunmen and shot them one by one, causing them to fall to the ground. The tiger-headed man was like a Terminator warrior. Relying on a human shield, he did not miss a single shot. Very quickly, he got rid of all the gunmen. In the blink of an eye, only two black bodyguards were left standing there. More gunmen heard the noise and rushed over, but it would take some time for them to get here. The two black bodyguards took out two Desert Eagles and aimed at the tiger-headed man, ready to fire. But the tiger-headed man had already picked up a P-90 and fired two shots at them, causing them to fall to the ground. The tiger-headed man was Li Fan. His marksmanship was not very good in the past, but after learning from Ling Tian for a period of time, he trained his marksmanship. Who do you belong to? Elder San was also someone who had seen the world. Although he didn't expect that someone would kill their way into his territory, he still forced himself to calm down and said to Li Fan, "Don't be in a hurry to make a move. Maybe you can gain more by talking to me." "I'm not in a hurry to kill you," Li Fan said. "I'm just here to ask you something. I'm very kind. You don't have to be afraid." Li Fan's words almost angered Elder San to death. Looking at the corpses on the ground and the lake that was dyed red, how could he not be afraid? It would be strange if he wasn't afraid. What do you want to ask?" Third Master maintained his composure and asked. "This thing, what is it?" Li Fan took out a bag of white powder and waved it in front of Elder San. "Immortal powder?" Elder San's eyes narrowed slightly. "What is this thing used for?" "I don't know the specifics, but I know that the effect of this thing is 100 times better than drugs." "If you don't know, what's the point of keeping you alive?" Li Fan's words made Elder San's heart tremble. "This composition is indeed very mysterious. Although I don't know how this thing is made, I know where it is produced." Elder San's words finally moved Li Fan. "Where?" "In an underground factory in Hebei." Elder San lowered his voice and looked around before saying to Li Fan, "As long as you can spare my life, I'll tell you." "Sure." Li Fan agreed without hesitation. How can I trust you? Elder Sand was extremely cunning. He looked at Li Fan, his eyes darting around. Bang! Li Fan shot at the pillar next to him and broke a large piece. Do you think now is the time to talk terms with me? Then kill me. Elder Sand said straightforwardly. Even if I tell you, you'll still kill me. I might as well die now. I can let you go, but there's a condition. Li Fan looked at Elder Sand and threw out a condition. Say it. From now on, I'll retire from this business. If Li Fan wanted to ruin all of Long Qingyun's businesses, this was also a way. No matter where you are, I can easily find you. If I find out that you're still in this business, the next time will be the day you die. Don't worry, I'll definitely retire from this business. Elder Sand hurriedly swore, if I do this again, I'll be stabbed 3 times and die a horrible death. Li Fan didn't care whether what Elder Sand said was true or not. He had to find the place where this thing was produced as soon as possible. After Elder Sand gave him an address, Li Fan asked this question again. I'm not too sure, but Long Qingyun handed this part of the business to me, and every time, he would come to me on time to pick up the goods. Elder Sand didn't dare to offend Li Fan, so he kept selling Long Qingyun. He basically doesn't give me any money now. I can't even afford the transportation. Sure, tell me where Long Qingyun is. I don't know. This Long Qingyun, every time I talk to him, it's either remotely or by sending someone over. He never shows up in person. Elder Sand shook his head. I hate him as much as you do, but he's very cunning. Oh. Li Fan asked a few more questions, then picked up a desert eagle and pulled the bolt. Elder Sand was about to pee in his pants. This tiger-headed man, is he going to go back on his words? Remember what you said. Li Fan threw down such a sentence and turned to leave. Chapter 854. Li Fan returned to his rented room, sat there quietly, and began to cultivate. The television in front of him was broadcasting the news from the imperial capital. So many people died in the Dong Dong seafood factory. This matter could not be hidden. However, the matter of Phoenix Mountain Villa was not leaked at all, and Third Master blocked the news. What surprised Li Fan was that there was actually a survivor in the factory, but he did not know how he survived. He spread the news of this tiger-headed man, and this time, the whole city knew of this terrifying tiger-headed man, and was called a homicidal maniac. The entire imperial capital began to issue a warrant for this tiger-headed man, and it was really frightening, and the whole city was on guard. With such a big case, it was impossible for the higher-ups to not pay attention to it. However, Li Fan did not expose himself. He used the tiger-headed man to conceal his existence. On the television was a female anchor, dressed coquettishly, standing next to the factory, doing a live broadcast. Everyone look at the factory behind me because the scene inside is too horrible to look at. The police sealed this place, not allowing us to go in and film. We have communicated with the police, but the police have not given us an answer yet. Who exactly is this mysterious tiger-headed man? There is still no clear answer, and there are many rumors in the streets. Li Fan listened to the female anchor complain about these things, and at the same time, he cultivated his internal energy. He was not in a hurry to go to Hebei to find that factory, because Long Qingyun still had a few businesses under him, and Li Fan was prepared to uproot them all. When night came, Li Fan had already put on the tiger-headed man mask again, rode on his black motorcycle, and sped away. This time, Li Fan drove directly in front of a nightclub and parked the car at the side. Although Long Qingyun was a member of an official family, he secretly supported this bar called Carnival at Dawn. According to the intelligence, there were many black businesses in this bar. Li Fan wore the tiger-headed man and confidently walked towards the entrance of the bar. There were 2 security guards standing at the entrance smoking. When they looked up and saw the tiger-headed man walking towards them, they were stunned for a moment. What the hell? Why is he wearing a mask? Wait, is there a homicidal maniac, tiger-headed man? Recently? It can't be so coincidental. As the 2 of them muttered for a long time, Li Fan had already walked in front of them. Stop! Security guard suddenly yelled and glared at Li Fan. Take off your mask. What? Can't I wear a mask here? Li Fan asked. Behave yourself. This is Master Rat's territory. Security guard A felt that Li Fan did not come with good intentions, so he decided to scare him away first. At the mention of the famous Grandpa Rat, this kid was probably scared shitless. Who was Grandpa Shu? Everyone in the imperial capital knew his name. Oh, it really is Uncle Mouse. Li Fan nodded. Grandpa Rat was one of Long Qingyun's subordinates, and he was looking for him. Of course, we are both Master Shu's men. Security guard A reminded Li Fan, if you want to play in the club, take off your mask. If you're here to cause trouble, then hurry up and scram. Can I ask where Grandpa Shu is? Li Fan asked. Fuck, why should this father tell? Before security guard A could finish his words, Li Fan pulled out a tiger claw dagger from his bosom and directly slit security guard A's neck. Security guard B was scared to the point of peeing. This brother is so ruthless. He directly slit his brother's neck. The blood gushed out like a fountain. It's so scary. Even these hooligans have never killed someone so ruthlessly. Homicidal maniac. This guy is the homicidal maniac in the TV. Where is Grandpa Shu? Li Fan asked again. Grandpa Shu hasn't come yet. He only comes here at 1 a.m. every day. Security guard B quickly said. How could he not dare to say it? Oh, then I'll wait here for a while. Li Fan looked at the time. There's still half an hour before Grandpa Shu arrives. He nodded and then kicked the corpse of security guard A to the ground next to him. At the same time, he said to security guard B, take me to a private room and drink 2 glasses of wine with me. Ah. The security guard froze for a moment. Li Fan's voice turned cold. What can I? Sure. I'll get a room for you. I'll let you have a good rest and taste our best wine. The security guard did not dare to say anything else. He quickly brought Li Fan into the bar and got him a room. When the security guard was about to go out, Li Fan put his hand on his shoulder. I'm bored alone. Stay here and accompany me. I'll go out and get you a drink. The security guard wanted to cry. No need. I don't drink when I'm working. Li Fan's words made the security guard desperate. Are you afraid of me? Li Fan pushed the security guard to the sofa and let him sit next to him. I'm afraid. When the security guard finished his words, he regretted it. If he said he was afraid, would it make other people unhappy? So he quickly changed his words. No, I'm not afraid. You look at how kind you are. Me and kind? Li Fan wanted to laugh when he heard this. How can I be kind like this? He pointed at his tiger head hood. You must be kind. You won't kill people. The security guard said while trembling. Please be merciful and let me go. I'm really a good person. Oh, why do you say you're a good person? I haven't done anything bad. Although I've been working for Grandpa Shu for 2 years, I'm just a bystander. Why should I believe you? Why? Why do you want to kill people? He was obviously a hooligan, but this security guard was very timid. He hid there and shivered. He did not answer but asked Li Fan instead. I only kill bad people, but how can you be sure that the people you kill are bad people? The security guard asked. Li Fan pondered for a long time. You're right. Someone asked me before. Then let me rephrase my words. The people I want to kill are those who provoke me. But I didn't provoke you. The security guard was about to cry. Well, you didn't provoke me, but the people above you provoked me. If you want to hate someone, hate yourself for following the wrong person. The security guard finally lost control. He suddenly jumped up and rushed out of the door. At the same time, he shouted, Save! Before the security guard could finish his words, Li Fan threw a cup on the table and smashed it on his head. He immediately fainted and lay on the ground. Li Fan looked at his watch and found that it was 12:50 in the morning. He sat on the sofa and waited for Grandpa Shu to arrive. Long Qingyun had a total of 5 or 6 businesses under him. Li Fan wanted to raid them one by one. It was almost time. Li Fan stretched and was ready to make his move. Chapter 855. Elder Shu brought 4 of his best men and entered his bar. The imperial capital's control was very strict. Many underground businesses in the imperial capital could not be established without a strong background. Fortunately, Elder Shu had a strong background. Ordinary people did not dare to touch this nightclub. The location of his nightclub was not considered remote, and there were some illegal transactions going on inside. For example, drugs and sex could be seen everywhere in his bar. One of Elder Shu's men was called One Eye. In his early years, he had peeked at women bathing and was beaten blind. However, he was not ashamed. Instead, he was proud of it. Now, under Elder Shu's command, he specialized in tricking young girls to come to this nightclub to be a hostess. Someone once said that One Eye would go to hell for doing this. However, One Eye felt that they were making a big deal out of nothing. He thought that he was helping these women. Drinking and accompanying customers in a bar could earn money. What was wrong with that? He was doing a good deed. Good deeds should go to heaven. How could he go to hell? Elder Shu admired One Eye for this, so he pulled him to his side and let him do things for him. One Eye could get at least one new girl a week. Elder Shu came every day and used a week to train the new girl. Then, he would let the girl officially start working. Elder Shu was the same today. One Eye had just dug out a girl who had just graduated from a nursing school. He heard that she was quite innocent. Grandpa Rat liked to play with these kinds of pure girls. He had seen too many of those kinds of flirtatious girls. Ordinary people couldn't even enter his eyes. The girl is ready. She's waiting for you in the room. One Eye rubbed his hands and smiled as he followed Elder Shu. Elder Shu was very satisfied. Good. You are the most sensible person by my side. Thank you, Elder Shu. I will continue to work hard. One Eye was very happy. Although Elder Shu was cruel and merciless, he was very generous when he needed to be. This time, he would definitely reward him with a lot of money. As expected, he did not need to worry about food and drinks if he followed Elder Shu. One Eye led Uncle Rat to room 666. He opened the door and respectfully invited Uncle Rat in. Uncle Shu opened the door, and sure enough, there was a young girl sitting inside. She was about 17 or 18 years old, and her eyes were full of innocence. She was also wearing the uniform of a certain high school in the capital. One Eye must have specially ordered her to wear it. This time, the lethality was indeed quite strong. Lord Rat felt his lower body stiffen. It was really great. It was exactly the style she wanted. Uncle Rat smiled and walked in. One Eye closed the door for him and ordered a few thugs to follow him. You know Uncle Rat's rules. No matter what happens, you are not allowed to enter the house. Do you hear me? After saying that, the footsteps of the one-eyed man gradually faded away. Lord Rat looked at the timid girl sitting on the sofa. His heart was itching to have sex with her. This was exactly the kind of taste he liked, especially the timidity in her eyes. It was all from the bottom of her heart, and not an act. That's great. This is the real deal. Lord Rat licked his lips. He was very excited. Just as he was about to enjoy this girl, he suddenly felt a light breeze above his head. Lord Rat looked up and saw a man wearing a tiger mask jumping down from above. Lord Rat was very scared. He subconsciously wanted to pull out a pistol from behind his waist, but the tiger-headed man was faster. He directly hit Lord Rat's head with his palm. Bang! Li Fan pressed down on Lord Rat's head and pinned him to the ground. Lord Rat did not even have time to scream before he was smashed and fainted. Li Fan glanced at the chick who was sitting there. She seemed to be very scared, trembling with fear. Li Fan carried Lord Rat on his shoulder and said to the girl, "Don't do this anymore." After saying that, Li Fan walked over and directly knocked the girl unconscious. He carried Grandpa Shu, opened the door of the private room, and went outside. The four thugs were still standing at the door. When they saw Li Fan, they were stunned. Who is this? Li Fan held the tiger tooth dagger in his hand. With a backhand hook, he instantly slit the throat of one of the thugs. Looking at their companion who was holding his neck and bleeding, the other three thugs finally reacted. Li Fan kicked one of the thugs and stepped on his crotch, causing him to scream in pain. The other two thugs took out their pistols one after another, but Li Fan was faster. The tiger claw in his hand turned and stabbed into the chest of one of the thugs. The other thug raised his gun and was about to shoot. Li Fan turned around and kicked the gun out of his hand. At the same time, he kicked the thug to the ground. The thug fainted. Li Fan carried Lord Rat and swaggered outside. On the way, when they met thugs, Li Fan directly stabbed them with his dagger and killed them instantly. Basically, these thugs would appear at regular intervals. It was like the Calabash brothers saving their grandpa, but all of them were killed by Li Fan. Lord Rat only felt a headache. When he woke up, he realized that his body was weak. Below him was a bustling traffic. The traffic was getting clearer and clearer. Lord Rat's heart suddenly started beating faster. He was actually hanging in the sky. He looked back. Indeed, there was a rope tied to his legs, hanging him on the roof of a tall building. His body was still swaying in the night wind. Lord Rat did not dare to struggle, afraid that he would fall. The tiger head was sitting on the edge of the building, seemingly taking a nap. But the tiger head realized that he was awake. He immediately turned his head and looked at him. The scenery here is not bad, right? The tiger head asked. Tiger head, who are you? Lord Rat was also someone who had seen the world. Yesterday, the one who defeated Third Master was you, right? Yes, it was me. Li Fan nodded. Don't just admire the scenery. Come, tell me, where is Long Qing Yun? Li Fan asked straightforwardly. Lord Rat sneered. Although I don't know who you are, do you think that you can scare me, Master Shu? Aren't you afraid? Li Fan was curious. As long as I cut this rope, you will become a pile of meat paste. You don't dare to kill me. If you dare, you won't spend so much effort to hang me here. Lord Rat sneered. Li Fan also laughed. That's where you're wrong. I'm just bored out of my mind. Killing you is not a big deal. Long Qing Yun has so many businesses under him. If I kill you, I can tell others. What you said seems to make sense. Lord Rat nodded. But you can't kill me. Chapter 856. I can't kill you. Are you sure? Li Fan spun the desert eagle in his hand, then aimed the muzzle at Ratty, who was hanging below. Shoot me? Uncle Rat said calmly. Let's see if you can kill me. This elder rat is very strong. Li Fan couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. How can he be so fearless? This is interesting. Li Fan's brain was working very fast. He was thinking about how to make Elder Rat speak. However, Elder Rat took out a bag of white powder from a hidden pocket in his sleeve. It looked like the immortal powder. Elder Rat sucked the immortal powder into his mouth. Then his eyes began to emit a blue light. From Elder Rat's body, a strong burst of true energy suddenly erupted. His whole body flew along the rope. In the blink of an eye, he jumped on top of Li Fan's head. True energy? Li Fan was surprised. How could this guy have true energy? He was just an ordinary person before. How could he have true energy? This doesn't make sense. The only explanation was the white, immortal powder. Before Li Fan could figure it out, Elder Rat had already jumped in front of him. At the same time, he slapped Li Fan's forehead. The Jinqi in this palm strike was indeed not weak. At the very least, it was at the level of perfection. However, Li Fan directly raised the Desert Eagle and fired a shot at Elder Rat. The bullet hit Elder Rat's shoulder and sent him flying. Only at the level of perfection could not block a bullet. As Elder Rat's body flew out, Li Fan grabbed his leg and threw him back to the rooftop. Elder Rat was lying there. Half of his shoulder had been sent flying. His whole body was a bloody mess. However, because of the immortal powder, he was still alive. It seems like you won't be able to live for long. Li Fan squatted on the ground and looked at Elder Rat. He fell into deep thought. If you kill me, more people will come to kill you. I'll save a good place for you down there. After Uncle Rat said that, he raised his hand and slapped himself on the head. He killed himself with one slap. He died of suicide. Li Fan really admired this Grandpa Rat. At least he was ruthless enough. Thus, Grandpa Rat's lead was cut off. The only clue that Li Fan had was the drug refining factory in Hebei. However, before eradicating Long Qingyun's foundation in the imperial capital, Li Fan had no intention of touching that place. Don't do this in your next life. Li Fan pulled out his shotgun, aimed at Master Rat, and shot him in the head. He couldn't let anyone know about his Jinqi. If outsiders saw this, they would think that Lord Rat had died at the hands of a martial artist. This could not be discovered by others, or else it would disrupt his plan. But now, it seemed that things had gone beyond Li Fan's expectations. The appearance of the immortal powder was beyond his expectations. It was a kind of medicinal powder that could allow ordinary people to possess true energy after eating it. Although he didn't know what the side effects were, it was already very powerful. After taking care of Elder Rat, Li Fan started to study other industries. The sun rose quietly, and everything returned to normal. These few days, the imperial capital was in an uproar. In just a few days, another group of people had been killed by the tiger-headed man. Such a big nightclub had been wiped out in the blink of an eye. Even the nightclub's manager, Yang Xiaosu, had been brutally murdered. This was like a slap in the face to the imperial capital, which was known as the safest city. Solve the case. We must solve it within a week. In the imperial capital police station, the chief was furious with everyone. This matter had been classified as the January 25th case. The higher-ups had also given a hard target. They must arrest the tiger-headed man within a week. However, the tiger-headed man seemed to come and go without a trace. Even when the whole city was looking for him, he still destroyed 2 industries in the imperial capital. One was a bath, and the other was a game hall. Although it wasn't a particularly big place, many people had died. Adding up the 4 cases, there were more than 100 people who had died. This wasn't a small number. It was almost like a natural disaster. If you can't solve the case, you can all go home and farm, the chief roared. It wasn't that he wanted to lose his temper, but the people above him were also losing their temper. The chief's anger could burn everything, but the tiger-headed man wasn't someone that could be caught so easily. Chief Zhang, we have already carefully investigated the scene. However, not only is the tiger-headed man's whereabouts strange, he also knows how to use anti-reconnaissance methods. He didn't leave any fingerprints or DNA at the scene. We can't find any information about him. What about the cameras? When he left the crime scenes, he rode a black motorcycle. We have the Skynet. Can't we find where his motorcycle went? We have searched. The subordinate immediately reported. However, every time his motorcycle entered a tunnel, it would disappear from the camera. Moreover, no matter which tunnel he went, he would disappear without a trace. It was like he had evaporated into thin air. Nonsense. Who would evaporate into thin air? Look at the surveillance at that time. Did you see any trucks coming out of the tunnel? This tiger-headed man is very cunning. It's very likely that he hid in the truck and took the opportunity to hide the motorcycle. We have also thought of this possibility, but we have also investigated the trucks that came out at the same time as him. There was no problem with them. These policemen were also at their wits' end. They didn't understand that when Li Fan left the tunnel, he used true chi to reflect light. Although he couldn't make himself completely invisible, he could temporarily block his figure from the cameras. Especially the place where he rented a house, which was a very remote area. The police's Skynet was not deployed there. Although the imperial capital had a powerful Skynet system, it couldn't cover every corner of the city. However, Li Fan would eventually miscalculate. Actually, it's very easy to find the suspect. An old police officer took out a map and circled a few areas on it. Look, when the suspect left the crime scene, he went in this direction. From this, we can infer that the suspect is probably in this direction, which is this area. Only in this area. The police's Skynet is not fully deployed. As long as we block this area, we will definitely be able to find the suspect's car. Once the car is locked, we will naturally find the suspect. Good. This method is feasible. The chief nodded. Immediately deploy the surveillance and find the suspect. Our time is limited. Act now. Yes. All the policemen in the imperial capital started to move and began to search for the whereabouts of this tiger-headed man. At the same time, it wasn't just the policemen who were furious. Long Qingyun was also cursing. Chapter 857. Damn it! Who the hell is destroying my property? Long Qingyun smashed his phone and sat in front of his desk, his eyes flashing with anger. One of his underlings stood beside him with his head lowered, not daring to make a sound. Who the hell is so daring to find trouble with me? Long Qingyun is currently doing very well in the imperial capital. His anti-mutant equipment is very useful, capturing many mutants, locking them up and sending them for research. Now Long Qingyun only has one business left, a KTV in the south of the imperial capital. This KTV is Long Qingyun's biggest business, but for the past few days, the KTV has not opened for business. But the door is still open, waiting for one person, the tiger-headed man. Long Qingyun understood this tiger-headed man is here for him. Almost all the businesses in the imperial capital have been uprooted. He will definitely not let this last one go. Now the entire KTV is a huge trap waiting to swallow the tiger-headed man. He usually makes a move once every 2 days. The underling reported, "Tonight, he will come to our KTV." Good. Long Qingyun took out a box and placed it on the table. "This is the latest super weapon. I will give it to you. Use it to deal with the tiger-headed man. The opponent should be an ordinary person, probably a mercenary trained by some place, or a retired agent. With your ability, plus this super weapon, you should be able to easily kill him." And the underling nodded. "My life was saved by you. No matter what you want me to do, even if I have to sacrifice my life, I will definitely save him. And you have always been loyal, I know." Long Qingyun nodded. "Don't worry, not long after, you will no longer need to do these things for me. At that time, I will arrange some suitable work for you, let you do something respectable." "But who will help you?" Chongguang hurriedly asked. The Terminator is about to be developed." Long Qingyun laughed. "We have already signed an agreement with the U.S. This first Terminator will be used by us." "Is the Terminator really useful?" Chongguang was still doubtful. "Is something developed by the Americans reliable?" "It's quite reliable, and our technology is also in it." Long Qingyun could not help but sigh. "The most unfortunate thing is that we were unable to take back X's body. If he could get it back, the Terminator's skills would be even more perfect. All right, let's not talk about this anymore. Go and get ready. Tonight, I must make this brat die." "Yes." Chongguang went down and waited for Li Fan to walk into the trap. Light of Hope KTV was the name of Long Qingyun's KTV. It looked like a very formal KTV, but in fact, underneath this KTV was an underground casino. It was impossible to come here to play without someone to lead the way. The casino had always implemented a member recommendation system. Only when 3 members recommended at the same time could a new member be admitted. Without membership, it was impossible to enter the casino. Shutting down for 2 days was a huge blow to the casino. Normally, a casino's daily turnover was about 2 million. If it didn't operate, it would lose more than 1 million every day. If it didn't operate, Long Qingyun would probably have to spend all his money. Thus, Long Qingyun's mood was even more anxious than Li Fan. But what made Long Qingyun uncomfortable was that the tiger-headed man actually did not come for a week. Not being able to operate for a week, the casino was losing money. Long Qingyun could not take it anymore. Before he vomited blood, he finally decided to resume his business. Because it had been closed for a long time, many gamblers did not know about it. Thus, the casino's business was rather dull. A man in a black suit walked into the KTV. He was different from the normal customers. Normal customers would at most wear a hat, but he was wearing a tiger-headed mask. "Fuck! The tiger-headed man!" A KTV thug was so scared that he almost peed his pants. He subconsciously pulled out a gun from his waist and aimed at Li Fan. But Li Fan directly reached forward, grabbed his pistol, and easily removed the clip on it. The thug on the other side was taken aback. Li Fan added another kick and sent him flying. The thug fell on the counter behind him, knocking over all the drinks on the counter. "The tiger-headed man is here." The thugs in the KTV rushed over, ready to kill the tiger-headed man in exchange for a large sum of money from their boss. Li Fan held 2 desert eagles in both hands, wore a black suit, and wore a tiger-headed mask. He was like Brother Ma, continuously firing his gun, each shot knocking down a thug. No matter where the thug came from, as long as he showed his head, he would be shot dead. Li Fan was like the Grim Reaper. After entering, he went on a killing spree, killing all the thugs that showed their faces. Soon, there were no more thugs in the hall. The remaining thugs hid behind the wall or under the counter, not daring to show their faces. But Li Fan seemed to have seen them. He directly walked over and fired at the place where they were hiding. Li Fan stood in the hall and looked left and right. Then he walked forward, pulled out his shotgun, and suddenly fired at the wall in front of him. Bang! The wall was directly smashed, revealing a passageway inside. Li Fan walked in and followed the passageway downstairs. There was a huge underground casino below, and a few fair-legged beauties in bunny clothes were busy evacuating the crowd. Seeing the tiger-headed man walk in, these people screamed and ran even faster. A group of mercenaries in special combat suits suddenly rushed out from their hiding place. Chongguang carried a big box on his back and walked over. He looked at Li Fan with a mocking smile. "Tiger-headed man, is it? After so many days, you finally arrived? I'd like to see what kind of face you have under that mask." Saying that, the mercenaries pointed their guns at Li Fan. But Li Fan did not panic. He kicked over the mahjong table beside him and blocked in front of him. 222. Bang, bang, bang. Bullets continuously hit the table. It was unknown what material the table was made of, but it did not break. In fact, they did not know that Li Fan had secretly used some true qi to strengthen the table, temporarily turning it into a cover. More than a dozen mercenaries armed with live ammunition shot at Li Fan as they approached. However, at this time, a green grenade suddenly rolled over and landed at their feet. Grenade! The mercenaries' expressions changed, and they all fled in all directions. Li Fan took the opportunity to walk out and started shooting in the midst of the explosion, killing all the mercenaries. Chapter 858. Li Fan held a machine gun in his hand and pulled the trigger. Flames engulfed the bodies of the mercenaries. None of the mercenaries could escape. In the blink of an eye, all the mercenaries were torn to pieces by Li Fan. This machine gun was seized by Li Fan from Long Qingyun's bath a few days ago. That bath was practically an arsenal. Ordinary people would never think that there would be such a place in the imperial capital. The imperial capital was known as a safe place, but every city had its dark side. Right now, Li Fan was cleaning up the dark side of the imperial capital. When the flames from the explosion dissipated, the only person left alive was Chongguang. He looked at Li Fan as he injected himself with the angel potion and put down the box on his back. Li Fan had just finished firing. He threw the machine gun to the side and pulled out the Desert Eagle. Chongguang had already kicked open the box. There was a great sword inside. There were some strange energy blocks embedded in the great sword. It was unknown what they were used for. Li Fan fired a shot at Chongguang, but Chongguang raised his greatsword. The bullet suddenly stopped in front of Chongguang and fell to the ground with a clang. Li Fan raised his eyebrows slightly. It seemed that there was something fishy about his sword. Chongguang raised his great sword and swung it with force. A strange force immediately spread out. The surrounding tables and chairs were all crushed by this force and scattered on the ground. Li Fan also felt a wave of pressure on his body. It was as if he had become dozens of times heavier. Li Fan knelt on the ground and could not raise his gun. This is a weapon with supergravity. It's like a divine weapon against mortals like you. Chongguang raised his greatsword and walked toward Li Fan step by step. Actually, as long as Li Fan used his true energy, Chongguang's gravity would have no effect on him. However, Li Fan still planned to hide his strength. He would not use his true energy until the last moment. Li Fan's fingers hooked out a grenade from his pocket and threw it on the ground. Chongguang glanced at him while Li Fan closed his eyes. A strong light flashed, and Chongguang's eyes turned white from the light. He couldn't see anything for a moment. He immediately gripped his sword tightly and allowed gravity to envelop his surroundings, wrapping around his body and protecting him. By the time his vision recovered, Li Fan had disappeared. He had no idea where he was hiding. Chongguang sneered. He took out a pair of high-tech glasses and put them on. His vision had completely changed. The room was dyed red, and all the objects with body heat were reflected in his eyes. But the ground was littered with corpses, and there was no sign of Li Fan. Chongguang frowned. He held his sword and looked around for Li Fan. Chongguang raised his sword and searched for Li Fan. At this moment, a bullet suddenly appeared in front of him and stopped less than 10 centimeters in front of him. A sniper bullet. Chong Guang broke out in cold sweat when he saw the sniper bullet fall to the ground. The tiger-headed man had already hidden himself when he retracted his gravity. Moreover, he was standing far away and aiming at him with a sniper rifle. But where was the tiger-headed man hiding? The hall was so big, but there was no energy reaction from the tiger-headed man. Clang! Another sniper bullet arrived in front of him. This time, the distance was even closer. Chong Guang broke out in cold sweat. He looked in the direction of the bullet and saw a weak energy light in another room. Damn it! How did this bastard run so far away in an instant and hit me so accurately with a room between us? Bang! The third sniper bullet hit Chong Guang's forehead. Although it didn't break Chong Guang's forehead due to the gravity, it still hurt his head. Chong Guang screamed in pain and took a step back while holding his head. Bang! The fourth sniper bullet tore through Chong Guang's gravity defense and exploded his head. Chong Guang's headless corpse fell to the ground, and the super great sword fell to the side. Li Fan carried the sniper rifle and looked at the hole in the wall. Then he walked to Chong Guang's side. He picked up the super great sword and looked at it carefully. This sword seemed to have an extraordinary ability, but it was just a sword. How did it do it? Li Fan looked at the energy block on the sword and found that it had dimmed. It seemed that the sword needed to replenish its energy in order to activate its ability. Li Fan gave it a try and poured his innate chi into it. The radiance of the energy block lit up again. Li Fan had always had a guess. In this world, be it true chi, superpowers, or other powers, they were all pure energy. Even the food people ate usually replenished this kind of energy. Energy could be converted into each other. Therefore, his true chi could activate by Lin Luo's good guy card and replenish the super greatsword's energy. Li Fan raised the greatsword. There was a switch on it. He pressed the switch, and a gravitational force appeared around him. As for Li Fan, something like an aura field appeared on his body, wrapping him up, preventing him from being affected by gravity. This thing was really strange. Just what did Long Qingyun develop? In his plan, this thing seemed to be of some use. Just as Li Fan was about to put away the greatsword, Chong Guang's phone rang. Li Fan took out the phone and wiped the blood on Chong Guang's body. Then he picked up the call. Chong Guang, how's it going? A familiar voice came from the other side of the phone. Chief Long, when can we meet? Li Fan asked in a low voice. Tiger Man. Long Qingyun's voice froze. He seemed to be shocked. That's right. I've been looking for you for so long. I'm so sincere. Isn't it about time for you to come out and meet me? Li Fan asked with a smile. Who the hell are you? Why did you provoke me? You'll know when you meet me, Li Fan said. You probably dream of me every day and night. Don't worry, give me an address. I'll meet you right now. You think you're very powerful? Long Qingyun's voice carried a hint of anger, as if it contained thunder. From the moment you provoked me, you were destined to die. You must be a Chinibyu. Li Fan laughed. If that was the case, would your business in the imperial capital be uprooted by me? You can continue to hide. I'll see how long you can hide. Fulong Mountain Villa, come over. Long Qingyun coldly snorted. If you have the guts. Chapter 859. Hidden Dragon Mountain Villa. This is a very famous villa area in the imperial capital. The people who live here are either rich or noble. Long Qingyun lived in this place, and his villa was on guard at this time. Many sweeper in dark green uniforms, all holding special firearms, hovered beside the villa. Long Qingyun could only rely on himself to solve this matter. He could not rely on others. He was in charge of a lot of sweeper, and now it came in handy. What made Long Qingyun most distressed was not the money lost by his casino these few days, nor the lost properties. With his status, these things were gone, although he was unhappy, but sooner or later he could get them back. Night had fallen, and Li Fan arrived as promised. He rode a motorcycle all the way to the Hidden Dragon Mountain Villa. It was already late, and the moon hung in the sky with a faint yellow halo. The black night filled the entire sky, and the villas in the district were all lit up, reflecting the surrounding yards. Li Fan squatted on the wall outside and looked at the largest villa in front of him. The villa was located next to a lake, and many sweeper patrolled around the villa to protect the safety of the villa. Li Fan gathered his true chi on his eyes, and his eyes immediately turned golden. The darkness seemed to be dispelled, and in Li Fan's vision, all the scenery was dyed with a layer of golden red. Judging from the color of these people's energy, there was no martial artist here. However, in the villa, there was a person with a strange energy light, and he didn't know which expert he was. Li Fan had never seen this kind of light before. It didn't belong to the martial artist, it didn't belong to the mutant, and it didn't belong to those European paladins. A new warrior? But no matter who it was, he had to pass this stage. Li Fan directly put on his mask and swaggered into the villa. The sweeper on the opposite side quickly saw a tiger-headed man walking overconfidently, and they were stunned for a moment. This guy really came, but why did he come straight over? Could it be that there was something fishy? These people were guessing, and the tiger-headed man had already walked in front of them with a big sword in his left hand. Immediately after, the tiger-headed man waved his big sword, and all the sweepers immediately felt their bodies sink, and they all knelt on the ground. The moppers around the mansion all fell to the ground with a thud. Li Fan didn't rely on his own true chi, but used this super big sword to easily deal with the sweepers around him. He held a silenced pistol in his right hand and fired repeatedly at the sweepers. The sweeper couldn't dodge at all, and they were all killed by Li Fan's pistol. Li Fan walked into the courtyard of the villa, and the big sword in his hand almost became a sealed artifact. Within 100 meters of him, everyone would be pressed to the ground by the pressure. Long Qingyun, have you washed up? Yours truly is coming, Li Fan shouted at the villa. However, the good times did not last long. Before Li Fan could be arrogant, the window on the second floor was suddenly pushed open, and 4 figures descended from the sky. Each of these 4 figures was wearing strange mechanical equipment, which made them look very strange. They were carrying a large device on their backs. With this device, they were able to move freely under the superpower greatsword's gravity field. The 4 of them raised the special firearms in their hands at the same time and opened fire at Li Fan. Strange red lasers shot out from their guns and swept towards Li Fan's body. Li Fan could feel the powerful force contained in the laser. He rolled on the ground, dodging the laser that was shooting at him, and jumped behind the wall of the house. The laser swept across a big tree behind Li Fan, directly turning the tree into charcoal. The greatsword's gravity field had no effect on this kind of laser. Li Fan wanted to use his true chi to sense the location of these people, but they seemed to have even blocked his true chi, so he could not sense them at all. What the hell? What kind of tricks were these people playing? It seemed that this was a new humanoid weapon for the sweeper. That set of equipment should be able to render all kinds of energy useless, including his true chi. It might not have any effect either. However, true chi was only one kind of martial fighter's power. Li Fan still had his strengthened body. These guys might not be able to take a punch from him. However, he could not expose the fact that he was a martial fighter. Li Fan decided to take the risk and change his strategy. He quietly poked his head out and fired a shot at one of the sweeper. However, the bullet stopped in front of the sweeper and slowly fell to the ground. Gravity field. These guys also had a magnetic field that controlled gravity. In that case, Li Fan's gun would be useless. Li Fan seemed to be able to hear Long Qingyun's mocking laughter. He had confidently come over to kill him, but now he was blocked outside. He could not even deal with 4 sweepers. Li Fan lowered his head and looked at the superpower great sword in his hand. This thing was quite sharp, but if the other party had a gravity field, his superpower great sword might not be able to cut through it. This was troublesome. Just as Li Fan was feeling depressed, a sweeper had already rushed in front of him. At the same time, it shot at Li Fan. Li Fan dodged in a sorry state again. If this continued, it would be too disadvantageous for him. At this time, Long Qingyun finally showed himself. Beside him was a man wearing a black iron mask. He slowly walked out of the villa and stood in the courtyard, smiling as he looked at the sorry state of the tiger-headed man. Hee, didn't you say that you were here to kill me? Long Qingyun was very arrogant under the protection of 4 super sweepers. With these 4 super sweepers, he was basically invincible. A super sweeper suddenly descended from the sky and landed in front of Li Fan. At the same time, he raised his laser gun. Li Fan waved his superpower great sword and slashed down. Although these super sweepers had a gravity field, it could only cover a distance of about 5 centimeters from their bodies. The laser gun that was raised was useless. It was directly cut in half by Li Fan's greatsword. After Li Fan cut a laser gun in half, he rolled on the ground and turned around to hide behind a nearby house. You're quite smart. Long Qingyun laughed. However, do you think that by cutting a laser gun in half, you can win against my super sweeper? Long Qingyun was very confident. But Li Fan suddenly appeared and once again cut another super sweeper's laser gun in half. But the super sweeper suddenly stretched out his hands, directly lifted Li Fan's body up, and then fiercely threw him out, smashing into a tree behind him. Bam! Li Fan's body smashed into the tree and fell on the grass behind. An ordinary person dares to challenge my authority. What a joke! Long Qingyun shouted, "It's time for you to pay the price." You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.